Are you ready for a spicy adventure? Let's talk cinnamon. It's a cool spice that most of us sprinkle on our oatmeal, toast, and apple pies. But did you know that some sneaky sellers out there are trying to sell us fake cinnamon? So, how can you spot the imposter? Well, the real deal is called Siouxland cinnamon, while the fake stuff is usually cassia cinnamon. One way to tell is by looking at the cinnamon sticks themselves. Real cinnamon is lighter in color and has a thinner, more delicate bark. The fake stuff, on the other hand, is darker and thicker. But don't worry, you don't have to be a cinnamon connoisseur to enjoy the real deal. Just make sure to read the label and look for Siouxland cinnamon. Your taste buds will thank you. Is white chocolate real or just an imposter? Well, it's time to settle this sweet debate once and for all. Some people say it's not even chocolate because it doesn't contain cocoa solids. But let's not judge a book by its cover or chocolate by its color, right? Technically, white chocolate is made from cocoa butter, milk, and sugar, which makes it a distant cousin to the darker cocoa solid packed chocolate varieties. But hey, if you ask me, family is family, even if they don't look or taste the same. And don't let anyone tell you white chocolate isn't delicious, because it absolutely is. Its smooth, creamy texture and sweet, buttery flavor make it a delightful treat on its own, or in baked goods like cookies and cakes. So, whether you consider white chocolate to be real chocolate or not, let's just agree that it's a yummy indulgence that we can all enjoy. Are French fries truly French? Hold on to your potatoes because it turns out that the origins of this snack are a bit more complicated than you might think. While it's true that French cuisine has given us some of the world's most delicious dishes, including escargot and coq au vin, the origins of French fries are actually traced back to Belgium. That's right, our crispy little friends were first cooked up in the land of waffles and chocolate. But here's where things get even more interesting. The reason they're called French fries is actually because of the way they're prepared, not because of their country of origin. You see, the term French in this context refers to the technique of slicing the potatoes into long, thin strips known as julienne cut. This technique was popularized in France in the 18th century, which is how the name French fries came to be. Want to add some egg rolls to this order? I mean, sure, they're delicious and all, but what's with all the fuss around this dish? First of all, let's talk about the egg part. Despite their name, egg rolls don't contain any eggs. Instead, the egg part comes from the thin, crepe-like wrapper that's made with eggs. It's like a little egg blanket that keeps all the tasty ingredients snuggled up inside. But what about the filling, you ask? Well, that's where things get interesting. Egg rolls can be filled with just about anything your heart desires. Veggies, meat, seafood, you name it. Some people even like to throw in a little cheese or rice for good measure. Now, here's where it gets a little weird. There's a bit of a debate in the egg roll world about whether they should be fried or baked. I say go for the fried version. There's just something about that crispy golden brown shell that can't be beaten. You might need to sit down for this one. Strawberries aren't berries, but bananas are. Mind blown yet? Here's the deal. A berry is defined as a fleshy fruit produced from a single type of cell. And guess what? Bananas fit the bill perfectly. They might not be as juicy as a watermelon or as tart as a raspberry, but they're berries. We might call them koala bears, but we couldn't be more wrong. Koalas aren't bears. These cute and cuddly critters are marsupials, which means they carry their little ones in a pouch. And while they may look a little bit like teddy bears, they aren't related to them. But hey, we can't blame people for thinking koalas are bears. After all, they do have that fluffy fur and round ears that make them look like they're ready for a hug. But koalas are their own unique species. They have all these amazing features that make them special, like their eucalyptus diet and their ability to sleep for up to 22 hours a day. Seriously, how do they do that? In case you didn't know the history of the Boston cream pie, you're in for a surprise. First off, let's just get one thing straight. Boston cream pie is not a pie. I know, it's in the name, but trust me on this one. It's a delicious cake filled with creamy custard and topped with a luscious chocolate glaze. Now, you might be thinking, why is it called a Boston cream pie then? Well, legend has it that it was invented by a chef at the Parker House Hotel in Boston way back in 1856. The chef, who apparently had a sense of humor, decided to call it a pie just to mess with people. And, well, the name just stuck. But let's not forget about the real star of this dessert, the custard filling. Smooth, creamy, and just the right amount of sweetness. It's what makes this cake stand out. And that chocolate glaze on top, it's like the icing on the cake. Literally. Is a peanut a nut? It sounds like a silly question, but you'd be surprised how many people get confused about this. So let's clear it up once and for all. Peanuts are legumes. That's right, they're in the same family as beans and lentils. But don't worry, we won't hold it against them. After all, they're still delicious and nutritious snacks. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even though peanuts aren't technically nuts, they can still cause nut allergies. That's because they contain similar proteins to tree nuts, like almonds and walnuts. So if you have a nut allergy, you'll want to be careful around peanuts too. Have you ever found yourself using the term tinfoil to refer to aluminum foil? You're not alone. A lot of people use the two interchangeably. But why is that? Years ago, aluminum foil was made of tin. Back in the late 1800s, before aluminum was cheap and abundant, people used tinfoil to wrap up their food and keep it fresh. But when aluminum foil came along, it quickly became the more popular choice because it was cheaper and easier to produce. So how come we still call it tinfoil? Some think it's because aluminum foil was first marketed as tinfoil and the name just stuck with most people. Others think it's because the two materials have similar properties, so people started using the two terms interchangeably. But whatever the reason, one thing is for sure. Tinfoil just sounds cooler than aluminum foil. You might be surprised to know that your trusty Pyrex dishes aren't Pyrex at all. Now, don't get me wrong, the knockoff still gets the job done, but it's just not the same. Be sure to check the label on your glassware before you go around thinking you're buying good stuff. Here's a cheat sheet to help you figure out what kind of container you have in your cupboard. If you see Pyrex with a lowercase p on a dish, that means it's not safe for the oven or microwave. It's most likely made of soda lime glass. Stick to using these containers for food storage. On the other hand, if you see Pyrex in all caps, you're in luck. This cookware is made of a special type of glass and can be heated in the oven or microwave. Just don't pop it under the broiler. Things could get messy. And if you're taking your Pyrex from the fridge to the oven, be sure to let it sit at room temperature for 30 minutes to avoid any glass fractures. Have you ever wondered why things are the way they are? Like, why are there holes in a takeout box? Don't worry, you're about to find out. Beanies with all those fluffy pom-poms are easily the most important accessories of wintertime. Turns out the real reason why they or other hats have pom-poms was not to make a fashion statement in the past. One of the theories says that they were there to provide safety. French sailors used to wear hats with pom-poms so they wouldn't hit their heads on the walls or low ceilings and hurt themselves if they lost their balance in a rough sea. So it wouldn't be wrong to call pom-poms head bumpers. Ever notice those extra eyelets hiking boots have on their sides? One thing is for sure. Even though it kind of makes sense, they're not there to provide ventilation for your feet so that they don't smell. They're there to prevent your shoes from moving and causing you to slip and fall while you're hiking, climbing, or descending a hill. When you're going on your next adventure, make sure to tie your laces through them to tighten your boots for a better fit. You're at a barbecue party with your friends. The host serves cold drinks and long neck bottles to everyone. You think to yourself, why do bottles have long necks anyway? There are two reasons for that. The first one is to reduce the cost of packaging. The narrower the neck is, the smaller cap you need, and the second reason is to make sure that your drink stays cool longer. When you hold the bottle from its neck, not its body, the heat coming from your hand won't warm up the rest of your drink. The color of plastic tags on bread packages indicates which day of the week the bread was baked. Even though some companies have their own color codes, it generally goes like this: Monday, blue; Tuesday, green; Thursday, red; Friday, white; and Saturday, yellow. So pick accordingly to get the freshest bread. You're feeling too lazy to cook dinner, so you go to your favorite restaurant to order takeout. You come home feeling excited that you're about to have a delicious meal. You open the takeout box only to find out that your food became soggy because of the moisture built up inside of it. Well, this secret purpose is going to help you prevent that from happening ever again. Notice the perforated tabs in the corners of the container's lid? You need to push them down to allow the steam to escape from the holes. If you have a hot meal, that is. If you're one of those lucky people who have a dishwasher at home, you're going to feel even luckier once you learn what else you can wash in it. Aside from making your dishes clean and shiny, it can also clean up your makeup brushes for you. Just place them inside the silverware tray to remove all the dirt and excess product that built up amongst the bristles. You went to the farmer's market and bought some fresh fruits and vegetables. You want to wash the dirt off them, especially potatoes, before placing everything in the fridge. Don't waste your time washing them all one by one. Place them in your dishwasher and set it to the rinsing cycle with cold water. Don't use detergent for this, though. Are you one of the many people who use the drawer under their oven or stove as storage? Sorry to inform you, but storing skillets, cookie sheets, and muffin pans is not their purpose. It's called a warming drawer, and it's meant to keep your cooked dishes warm and delicious. So, if your guests are running late, just put that casserole you've made in it until they arrive. Keep in mind that not all oven models have this feature. Some drawers are for broiling, and some can indeed be used as storage. Check with the manual to make sure what yours is. Oranges, lemons, and avocados come in mesh bags most of the time. When you go back home from the grocery store, you probably throw those into the trash, don't you? But did you know that you can also use them as a pot scrubber? You just need to tie them up. Then you can get to cleaning those dirty dishes, pots, and pans. You can even turn them into single-use scrubbers for other kitchen appliances or your sink. If you're at a store looking for new hangers to organize your closet, we suggest you buy the ones made of cedar wood instead of plastic ones. First of all, cedar wood acts as a natural repellent. Pests like moths, fleas, lice, silverfish, ants, gnats, and ticks won't come near your clothes and closet if you use them. The second reason why you should invest in them is that they absorb unwanted odors from your clothes as well as moisture. And this feature helps prevent mold, so you can wear your favorite dress or suit for longer. It's that time of week again, Taco Tuesday. You invite a couple of friends over to enjoy some homemade tacos, but even though you have the recipe for making tortillas, you don't know how to give them that perfect taco shell shape. Well, this hidden use might help. If you have a muffin tray at home, then you have all you need. Just flip it upside down and place the small tortillas in between the cups. Bon appetit! If you love sewing and making your own clothes, then you must be used to using those tomato pin cushions, which almost always come with a small strawberry tassel. But why is it there? First of all, you can push the needle you're currently using or your favorite one in there so that you don't need to search for it amongst the other needles all the time. And secondly, it's filled with emery, which will help clean and sharpen your needles once they go in there. Are you a Team Ketchup or Team Mayo? Ketchup fans must have noticed the number 57 on those Heinz ketchup bottles. That number is placed where it is on the bottle for a very specific reason. You must have struggled with getting ketchup out of the bottle at least once in your life, and at that moment, You probably tried shaking it until the right amount of ketchup fell onto your plate, right? Well, no need to do that anymore. Just firmly tap on the spot where 57 is written on the bottleneck, and you can get ketchup out of the bottle way quicker. You might have noticed that there are 2 holes in an oil can where you are filling it up or pouring it. And you maybe thought to yourself, that must be there to make it easier for me to pour it into smaller containers. But that's not the case. That hole is there to prevent oil from spilling all over, or glugging, so to say. So you need to uncap it before you pour oil from the larger hole to prevent wasting it or having to clean everywhere. Have you ever taken classes to improve your typing speed on a keyboard? If your answer is yes, then you might be disappointed to learn that keyboard manufacturers most likely wanted to slow you down. A popular theory says that's why the letters on a keyboard are arranged randomly and not in alphabetical order. The reason for that goes all the way back to typewriters. Their keys used to be arranged in alphabetical order, which allowed people to write really fast. And because of that, the keys would jam and tangle up easily, and they wanted to avoid that. That's how we ended up having the QWERTY keyboards we have today. Here's a bonus hidden feature for you before you leave. The clock app on your iPhone shows you what time it is on the little screen icon as well. Venice banned new kebab shops and other fast food outlets in an attempt to maintain the city's decorum and traditions. It happened several years ago when the authorities passed a law to limit the opening of these types of restaurants, with only artisanal ice cream shops being exempt from the ban. The city's tourism chief explained that the goal is to preserve Venice's cultural heritage and promote local products. The concern is that fast food establishments could detract from the city's unique identity and harm the environment. Venice is not the only Italian city taking action against fast food. Verona and Florence have also implemented restrictions on new kebab shops and foreign food establishments. In 2012, London restaurants were in an uproar after the ban on rare and medium-rare burgers had been announced by the Westminster City Council. They claimed it was for health reasons, but some were skeptical. One chef even said that if they stuck to these rules, they might as well kiss the burger industry goodbye. Others worry it's just the beginning, and soon we won't be able to enjoy runny eggs or steak tartare either. Raw and undercooked meat can indeed be dangerous, but many believe the authorities are overreacting. However, with previous incidents like the mad cow disease outbreak in mind, it's clear the council is just trying to be cautious. By the way, in New Zealand, you can't order your burger rare either, all because of some pesky bacteria concerns. Pufferfish is a Japanese delicacy that only the bravest dare to try. Their highly poisonous internal organs, for instance, the liver, contains tetrodotoxin, which is extremely toxic. This poison can enter your body in multiple ways: through a cut on your skin, when you inhale it, and, of course, if you eat it. Normally, people can't stay alive if they eat this fish. Yet, Japanese chefs are trained to remove the poisonous parts from a delicacy with a hefty price tag named fugu. It's almost completely banned in the US. There are only a few authorized places that sell it, and in order to do so, they need to have a special license. Just so you know, it's not only pufferfish that has this poison. Most octopi and cuttlefish have it too. Casu marzu, known as rotten cheese in Italian, is unsurprisingly banned in the US. But hey, if you're feeling adventurous and want to give it a try, head to Sardinia, Italy. This cheese is made from sheep's milk and has a little twist. Special flies lay eggs in it. Ugh! Maggots have around 40 days to invade the cheese, and then it's left for 2 to 3 months with maggots in it. The live maggots in the cheese help decompose it, giving it a unique texture and spicy flavor. It may be banned in the US, but it's definitely worth a try if you're ever in Italy. You may think there's everything a person may want in the US, but then Bam! One day you wake up craving some haggis, and it turns out this tender dish is legally banned in the land of liberty. The reason behind it isn't because Americans prefer mac and cheese or burgers, but because some ingredients haggis has aren't considered to be safe in the US, namely sheep lungs. And they make 15% of this dish. In fact, there's a full range of sheep's inner parts, plus some oatmeal, a lot of minced onions, suet, and some broth. It's quite crumbly and coarse, and it's also spicy. If the description didn't make you change your mind, get ready for a transcontinental flight and see you in Edinburgh. Sadly, haggis isn't the only Scottish dish banned somewhere in the world. Black pudding and other similar dishes from around the world are banned in the US due to sanitary reasons. However, if someone tells you that people in Canada went even further and banned iron brew and Marmite, don't believe them. Canadian authorities stated otherwise several years ago. Sorry folks, but there simply ain't enough room in Sweden for both M&M's and Marabou chocolates to coexist peacefully. It's like a Wild West showdown between these colorful candies marked with the letter M. So, who won the trademark battle? Marabou chocolates, of course. They've been holding the fort since the 1950s, while M&M's only rode into town in 2009. In a twist of fate, a Swedish court laid down the law in 2016 and ruled that Mars couldn't sell M&M's with lowercase m letters on the packaging. So if you're craving some peanut M&M's in Sweden, you'll have to settle for the version with capital M's on the packaging. The World Health Organization recently gave out validation certificates to Denmark, Lithuania, Poland, Saudi Arabia, and Thailand for eliminating trans fats from their foods. Trans fats are bad for our health and pretty easy to get rid of, making it a simple yet important nutrition policy for countries to follow. WHO now has a cool new program where they give out certificates to countries that kick trans fats to the curb. Kind of like how they do for getting rid of diseases like polio and smallpox. Horse meat is banned in many states in the US, first and foremost, for ethical reasons. It's considered cruel to eat horse meat there. However, some people also think there are safety reasons to avoid this type of meat. The thing is, horse meat is not particularly good for health due to various toxins found in it. Americans sure do love their salmon. But do you know that the farm-raised salmon in the US gets its coral color from being fed a carotenoid called synthetic astaxanthin? Yikes! This chemical is actually banned from consumption in some countries, such as Australia and New Zealand. And how about milk we all drink? Unless it's specifically marked, it's treated with artificial hormones to boost milk production. The FDA says there's no difference in the milk, but countries like Canada and the European Union ban it. Who knew? Chicken in the US gets washed in chlorine to reduce the risk of spreading illnesses like salmonella. Sounds good, right? Well, the UK and Europe think differently and banned this practice due to some unsanitary farming concerns. And let's not forget about the pork industry using ractopamine to beef up their livestock. While this is common in the US, over 160 other countries have banned this drug in meat production. Quite the difference in opinion, huh? The next time you're munching on those yummy Swiss rolls, keep in mind that the food dyes yellow 5 and red 40 in them are considered problematic in Europe and have warnings for kids. You got it, they're banned in at least 2 European countries, Austria and Norway. The rest of the countries require a special label on the packaging. Many break-based products in the US, like croissant, French toast sticks, and pre-sliced breakfast use azodicarbonamide as a whitening agent. Europe says no to this chemical, but the FDA still allows it. It's like a foodie drama unfolding before our eyes. When enjoying rainbow-colored candy, consumers are not only experiencing the array of flavors, but they're also consuming food dyes such as yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40. These dyes have been linked to negative effects, so, yet again, Europe requires special labels on the packaging because those dyes may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in kids. In countries like Norway and Austria, the dye called Yellow 5 is completely banned from use. In 1996, the FDA approved Olestra as a fat substitute for use in snacks and chips in order to provide guilt-free snacking options. Despite this approval, Olestra has been associated with side effects such as abdominal cramping and loose stools, as well as inhibiting the absorption of important vitamins and nutrients. As a result, the additive has been banned in Canada and several European countries. Next time you grab snacks to eat in front of your favorite series, make sure to look out for Olestra. Trans fats such as partially hydrogenated soybean and cottonseed oils can even be found in your favorite coffee creamer. Yep, coffee's at risk too. Those have been associated with heart conditions. Even though those fats were officially prohibited in the United States in 2018, they continue to be present in the American food supply. In addition to the US, several other countries have also set a strict limit on trans fats, including Switzerland, Austria, Hungary, Iceland, Norway, and Denmark. You've never ever eaten a single bite of a real cinnamon roll in your entire life. All your fancy Italian dinners with your friends were a scam. And get this, most likely, you've never tried a legit milkshake. Feels like your entire life is a lie, right? Don't worry, I've got you covered. I'll expose all those lies to you. Watch until the end to know how supermarkets sell you a fake Caesar salad and why the only authentic thing you've ever eaten was that seemingly packed with colorant red velvet cake. Do you like mashed peas? I don't. I still have those flashbacks to when my mom made me eat this swamp-like slurry when I was a kid. But I love peanut butter. Well, these two are related. The thing is, peanuts are actually legumes, not nuts. Why do they even call it peanut butter if it doesn't contain real nuts? And is not a dairy product to be considered butter? No one knows for sure, but I guess it's just because of the texture that resembles other nut-based spreadable pastes. The main component of the Caesar salad is probably its dressing. It has a bunch of ingredients, such as olive oil, eggs, lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce. By the way, 3 hardest things to say out there are I love you, I apologize, and Worcestershire sauce. Sorry, I got carried away. I was just saying that supermarket Caesar salad is a scam, since lots of stores and even restaurants throw in mayo and other unexpected ingredients. Source? Trust me, bro. Farm-raised salmon usually looks as white as the Twilight protagonist, but don't sparkle. It's the skin of the salmon, Bella. I'm a salmon. Ahem. Sorry, let's carry on. Well, people normally trust neither vampires nor pale salmon. To give the trustworthy reddish-pink look to those fish, sneaky fish farmers add pigmenting compounds to salmon feed, which helps mimic the color of wild salmon. In the wild, salmon get that iconic hue from shrimp and algae, but their farm-raised peers sometimes get a boost from carotenoids added to their feed. Many fancy pestos at supermarkets are labeled alla Genovese to show they come from Genoa and have old-school Italian nonna recipes. But sometimes, manufacturers may throw in a bit of extra stuff to make their pesto thicker. Okay, I may understand the extra sugar in this sauce, but bamboo fibers? I mean, I love pandas, but I'm not a panda. Some time ago, American journalists hit up 25 sushi spots in NYC and LA to see if we were really getting the sushi we paid for. They visited those big shot celeb hangouts and local joints and collected samples. Ordered sushi and then sent them off to a lab for some DNA testing. If that was a TV show, the results would sound like, "You are not the father." The thing is, 68% of the samples were not what they claimed to be. It was often a cheaper fish. In NYC, white tuna usually turned out to be escolar, also known as the X-lax fish, because instead of a nice aftertaste in your mouth, it can create a number 2 emergency. This fish is banned in Japan and Italy, but totally legal in the US. Things are even worse with wasabi. 95% of wasabi served in sushi restaurants is a knockoff. Yep, instead of fancy traditional Japanese stuff, you've been fed a cheap mix of horseradish, mustard flour, cornstarch, and green food coloring. Restaurants swear it's all about volatile compounds the real wasabi paste has that breaks down within minutes, but I have a bad feeling they just want to optimize costs as much as they can. If the apples you buy in supermarkets were kids, at the age they're sold, they'd be able to walk. While some produce like spinach is super fresh, apples often spend a long time in cold storage before hitting the shelves. In the US, apples are usually harvested between August and September. They're picked slightly unripe, treated with chemicals, waxed, boxed, and then stored in cold warehouses for up to 12 months. In the US, the average supermarket apple is 14 months old, while in other countries, let's say Australia, they're slightly younger and are only around 10 months old. Red velvet cake color is all about chemistry. Cocoa powder has an antioxidant known as anthocyanin, which is sensitive to pH levels. It can react to both acids and bases. Buttermilk and vinegar, which are also part of the recipe, are acidic, so due to this simple reaction, the whole mixture gets a dark red hue. The resulting cake has more of a reddish-brown shade though, rather than bright red. The only problem is that it's difficult to replicate the natural reddish-brown color since most brands use an alkalizing agent to neutralize acidity during processing. And to get that color, cocoa powder must be raw. You see what I'm driving at, right? Those cakes you grab at your favorite coffee shop are packed with artificial food coloring. Stop calling these orange and yellow prepackaged slices cheese. Not only is it an insult to camembert, cheddar, and other cheese varieties, but it's also incorrect in terms of legal regulations. Even the FDA refuses to classify this product as real cheese. It contains less than 50% of actual cheese, with the remaining ingredients being fillers and additives. I guess those slices deserve their cheese product name. Many commercial blueberry products don't actually have any blueberries in them. Instead, they're full of sugar, corn syrup, and artificial flavors. Even big brands like Kellogg's and General Mills were guilty of that. But still, there are many real deals. Just make sure to check the ingredients list for the real blueberries, and remember, the best ingredient that can be put in a blueberry pie is your teeth. Let's normalize purple carrots, shall we? They used to be the norm. It wasn't until Dutch growers started some vegetable experiments that we ended up with the sweet orange carrots we all know today. The Dutch were on a mission to create a carrot that showcased their national colors, like orange for the House of Orange. Their carrot breeding efforts paid off, and soon the orange carrot was all the rage, pushing aside purple and yellow varieties. That canned pumpkin you grab every year isn't really pumpkin, or at least not always. Most of the time what you're getting is actually squash. The FDA doesn't care to differentiate between pumpkin and squash on food labels, so companies go for the tastier and more compact squash instead. The US has rules for grading and processing milk products to keep them safe to drink and prevent sickness. States can change the rules a bit, so you might see raw milk for sale in California, but never in Florida or Illinois. So, your favorite milkshake might not actually be a legal milkshake if it has too much or too little milk fat. Here's why McDonald's sells not milkshakes, but just shakes, as they're made of a soft-serve ice cream mix. There's this shocking truth about Dairy Queen. Despite serving the iconic Blizzard, they technically don't sell ice cream. The FDA's regulations require a certain amount of milk fat for a product to be classified as ice cream. Dairy Queen's soft serve falls short, only containing 5% butterfat, so they embrace the term soft serve for its frozen treats. Your cinnamon rolls are a lie. They don't have any real cinnamon in them. Many commercial cinnamon rolls use a less expensive variety of cinnamon called cassia, which is closely related to true cinnamon species. Portobello mushrooms are not a unique type of mushroom, but rather mature cremini mushrooms that have been allowed to grow bigger in size. So here, we've only got the age difference. The belief that churros are Mexican is yet another food misconception. The origin of churros is still a mystery, with varying claims as to who invented the popular pastry. While some believe it was Spanish shepherds, Portuguese sailors, or Chinese individuals, there is no definitive proof to confirm any group as the original inventors. Some truffle oils out there actually have real truffles in them, but most of those you see in stores use this synthetic stuff with a complicated name instead. It basically mimics the taste and smell of real truffles, so companies can make truffle oil without breaking the bank. From the iconic golden fries to a broken ice cream machine, here are 10 fast food secrets that the fast food industry doesn't really want you to know. Chicken nuggets. Those golden crispy bites you can get from fast food chains. They're even on the menu of school lunches. What if I tell you that they aren't actually made entirely out of chicken? Researchers took chicken nugget samples from unnamed fast food chains and analyzed them. They said that one sample, for instance, contained only 40% and another 50% of meat. The rest? Well, you're eating mouthfuls of things like fat, connective tissue, and bone spicules. Many fast food companies grind the meat with that stuff. They make mechanically formed orbs of chicken parts. Why? Perhaps it's because this method is cheaper and more profitable. Millions of restaurants worldwide have chicken nuggets on their menu. So, scientifically, it's not fair to say all nuggets are made this way, but a lot of studies imply so. The more the meat is processed, the more you lose the good stuff, like vitamin B6 and B12. The bitter truth is that companies add stuff, such as sodium, to the mixed paste. Sodium is added to get a better flavor. It's one of the ingredients that makes nuggets so yummy. Our bodies need sodium, but not too much of it. Unfortunately, most junk food contains more than our bodies can handle. So it might be a safe option to avoid eating these sorts of foods frequently. Chains dip their nuggets into tempura batter and fry them in hydrogenated oil. That's also not a green light regarding health, but this is how they catch the golden tint. They put additional stuff in nuggets. What about grilled chicken? In recent years, we've seen brands highlighting grilled chicken as a healthier option. Research has been done about grilled chicken too. And the same approach is applied here. Take chicken samples from iconic fast food companies and send those to labs for analysis. The results show that companies are misleading people by advertising these products by labeling them as healthy, natural, and 100% chicken breast. In reality, a couple of things are added to the meat to make it tender and juicy. Plus, these additives make it easier to cook the meat, freeze and transport it, and reheat it later without losing too much moisture. The drawback of all these additives is that they affect the nutritional value of the chicken breast. These ingredients aren't the healthiest for us. We should especially watch out for 3 things. The first one is again sodium. Fast food samples had 7 to 10 times more sodium than home-cooked chicken breast. Imagine you have a cheeseburger, but you say no to yourself and try to pick a less harmful menu item. Yet, some chicken sandwiches have the same amount or even more sodium than a cheeseburger with medium fries. The second thing you need to watch out for is phosphate additives. These additives allow the protein to conjoin more water. This means the white meat in the sandwich will appear juicier to you. Any word you see in the ingredients section that contains phos is a phosphate additive, so it's best to avoid them. The last thing you should avoid is sugars and starches, not just in grilled chicken, but pretty much in all fast food products. Oh, that's hard to digest, I admit. Cornstarch, sugar, malt, they come with grilled chicken breast. Buns and even some fries have sugar too. Everywhere I look, it's sugar. You see, home-cooked chicken has 0 grams of carbs, but the study samples had added sugar and up to 10% of the calories in the chicken breast comes from there. So what's the moral of this story? If you're a health-conscious diner, you should maybe go for other options. There are secret recipes from companies like KFC and Coca-Cola. No company wants to share the ingredients that make their food irresistible, but with a little research, you can decipher many things. You want to know the secret of McDonald's fries? It's written on their website. They add beef flavoring to the frying oil. This may sound weird, but apparently, that's a known practice amongst chefs and restaurants. Duck fat has also been used as a flavor, for example, in high-end restaurants. I'm a fries lover, so I added another fact about fries. Sadly, they're even saltier than you think. Experts suggest that a grown-up should consume at most 2,300 milligrams of sodium daily. Guess the McD's large fries sodium number. At least 400 milligrams. Classic fries from Burger King have 732 milligrams, and Five Guys take the level even higher with 962 milligrams of sodium. Next time, maybe you can ask workers to go easy on the salt as a solution. Picture this. You're in a hurry. but your tummy says, "Feed me, or I'll affect your mood and make life miserable for you." For a quick snack, you enter a fast food chain restaurant. You order your favorite burger. It looks and smells as if it's just been taken from the grill and served. Nope. They have different types of grills designed for this that can cook meat super quickly. Sorry to bear the bad news, but those perfect grill marks on your burger aren't real tools. The factory adds them. If you want to know how clean an eatery is, look under the ice chute of the soda machine in places where you can get your own drink. There you go, Inspector. You solved the case. Various studies say that if such machines aren't cleaned correctly, dirty, contaminated ice can lead to some health problems. There could be mold or bacteria there. Ew! The process of cleaning ice machines isn't easy. The same thing applies to ice cream machines too. Rumor has it that those ice cream machines aren't out of order. Employers just cannot find time to clean them properly. Now, what's the best time to get a good and fresh meal? Here are two opinions, and they both have solid reasonings. The first team recommends avoiding ordering grilled food in chains from 7 to after midnight. Many former employees say that sometimes they had taquitos or hot dogs prepared at around 4 or 5 a.m., but kept waiting to serve them till around midnight. That's not healthy. The other team says you should order between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. or between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. to get the freshest meal. Since it's going to be around lunch and dinner time, there'll be circulation and you can get decent food. Fast food companies have marketing, design, and psychological tricks to lure you in and make you order. Yet, they don't want you to stay inside for too long. If you were dining in mood lighting, you know under dim lamps and candlelight, you would take your time to eat. As the name suggests, you should be fast like your food in chain restaurants. They have fluorescents and they're in full light. Similarly, the floors and tables have reflective surfaces that make food look nice and bright. Plus, music is usually fast and loud. It's done to prevent you from spending hours there. Yet, they want you to take advantage of the first 20 minutes after your purchase. The faster you eat, the longer it will take you to feel full. Scientists say it takes about 20 minutes for our stomachs to inform our brain, "Okay, now I'm full." It's a good idea to eat in a clean area, but most of these companies are using cleaning products that have super strong chemicals. Assume that the staff cleaned the place at the end of their shift. They wiped down the soda machine and grill surface, and then you showed up early the next day. You may get some of that chemical residue on your food compared to other customers visiting the place later in the day. The vegan patty may not be 100% vegan. I'm talking about the grill, not the meat itself. In most of the chains, vegan burgers are cooked on the same grill as meat burgers. Do you have fast food chain secrets you want to share? Tell them to fellow Brightsiders in the comments.
It's the first day of the apocalypse. The internet collapsed, logistics chains broke down. Outside your house, the world is living and breathing chaos. You need to think fast. You gotta make sure your provisions will last until who knows. First off, make sure to stockpile your share of pemmican. It's like a beef jerky with a lot of extra nutritional value. Pemmican is an invention of the indigenous people of North America. They depended on pemmican during harsh winters or when resources were scarce. It lasts long and it's easy to carry, the essence of survival food. It doesn't look the yummiest, but it can last up to 5 years if stored properly. This pemmican stuff is kind of perfect for the apocalypse, since it will give you a highly nutritional meal. A 2.2-ounce bar will give you around 300 calories, but here you get 3 for the serving of 1, dried meat, berries, and even sugar. And you won't have to eat a lot to feel satiated, since it gives your body an array of nutrients, from proteins to carbohydrates. I know you'll miss them, but don't grab those chocolate chip cookies you love. You need an alternative called ship's biscuits, but you can't find them in the supermarket. You gotta bake them yourself. These were literally the cookies that sailors ate during long voyages at sea. A ship's biscuit can go a lifetime without going bad. There are records of biscuits that lasted over 80 years. The deal is that when sailors went to sea, they didn't know exactly when they would set foot on land again. So they needed to be ready, food-wise. Or else they could, starve. Bakers came up with this simple recipe. These cookies are mostly made out of salt, flour, and a bit of water. But the secret here is that the slow baking method takes all the moisture out of it. The little holes on top help to get the moisture out during the cooking process. A medium-sized person can survive on 8 chips biscuits a day. But there was a downside. These cookies were so dry that one might break their teeth while eating them. And extra attention is advised since there could be bugs hidden in the holes on top. So, before munching on those cookies, make sure to shake the pests out of them. Ever heard of a soup you can carry around? Well, portable soup is an ancient secret that needs to make this list. Portable soup is hard and condensed. It's a type of solidified broth, like a bouillon, made essentially of meat. You need to cook it slowly, with any type of meat high on collagen. While cooking the meat, it will release its taste in the water in the pot. After about 18 to 24 hours of reduction, you'll get a gelatin-like nutritional substance. When this cools down, it turns into a plaque that you can cut down into smaller tablets. To eat it, you just need to find some hot water and put the meat tablet inside of it. It would release all the condensed nutrients in it, giving you a warm, hearty, and highly nutritional meal. If you attempt to risk your life and go outside to buy provisions, don't forget white rice. This variety of rice can maintain its nutrient content and flavor for up to 30 years. White rice is better than other varieties, such as brown rice, because of their natural oils. Now, let's say it's been a year into the apocalypse. You've gotten used to your new lifestyle at this point. You go outside to hunt for some fresh meat, but you run into a bear. But since your nutrition is up to date, you have all the energy you need to escape it, and you can thank kamut for that. This ancient grain contains up to 40% more protein than modern wheat, and it's richer in zinc, magnesium, selenium, and healthy fatty acids. It's not called high-energy grain for a random reason. It's easy to digest and provides more energy than regular wheat. Quick thought here. While we're speaking about survival food, we're not just thinking about things to fill your stomach. We need to think in nutritional terms as well as psychological ones, which means Jell-O. It may sound superficial, but don't underestimate the need for comfort food during the end of the world. Since it's made out of an industrialized powder, it lasts for a pretty long time. Plus, it's a source of collagen. This will help your bones to remain sturdy. Make sure your pantry has salt and sugar. Salt has been used since humans discovered it helps to preserve the shelf life of meat and stuff. That's why Egyptians used it in their mummification processes, so it would slow down the decaying process. Now, sugar can be stored for an indefinite period of time. Make sure to get a top-quality refined sugar, though, and store it somewhere without any type of strong smell, since it absorbs the scents around it. Both sugar and salt keep bacteria and mold from growing. Now keep in mind, moisture is one of your number one enemies in the apocalypse, even worse than zombies perhaps, simply because moisture allows for bacteria and mold to prosper, and these guys end up eating all your food. 2 years into this whole chaos, you figured out your way around food. When it all started, you bought a bunch of fresh veggies and dehydrated them. By dehydrating food, you still get all the nutrients, but they last for much longer. Plus, they reduce in size quite significantly, which makes storing them much easier. You didn't forget about peanut butter, of course. Peanut butter is highly caloric, plus they are your best treat at this point. Now I know what you're thinking, I can go without candies, but how will I survive without milk? Well, you don't have to. Instead of regular milk, make sure you get tons of powdered milk. You can even vary a bit and buy powdered coconut or even almond milk. To prepare them, you just need to mix it with a bit of water. And of course, coffee is a big survival food. It lasts a long time, although it won't bring you much nutrition. Coffee does have its share of antioxidants, which will help with a longer life. Plus, it helps with your brain's health, preventing dementia. You should get your share of canned food, beans, vegetables, even fish. Make sure you get some black beans, as they're high in iron. You need to have a sturdy immune system, since there won't be many doctors around, or they've turned into zombies. Canned pink salmon is a must-have in your apocalypse pantry. It's got a bunch of those omega-3 fatty acids, which will help with your brain and your heart health. It can last up to 6 years if stored correctly. And you gotta think about oats here. Oats are one of the world's healthiest foods. A bowl of oatmeal for breakfast can help you feel full longer, which is a great ally when food is being rationed. Rolled oats are simple to make and can be eaten without cooking, simply by letting them sit in water overnight. Now, corn. Flint corn is one of the best for long-term storage. It makes a pretty good cornmeal. You can even grind it and make a mean tortilla, in case you start to miss those Mexican night outs. It's best to store it whole and grind it only when you cook it, for durability, of course. Now, unfortunately, popcorn has more moisture than other varieties of corn and is not the best candidate for long-term storage. Let's just say popcorn doesn't make it into the apocalypse. Which leads us to another point. None of this will work if you don't know how to store your survival food. You need to create a storage location that is cool, dark, and dry. This can extend the shelf life of your food for up to 30 years. For the dehydrated stuff, you need to store it in airtight containers. Air is kind of a bad guy here, since it helps to oxidize a bunch of stuff. Most bacteria in our food need air in order to thrive. So if we cut out the air, this means more food for us.
Number 1. Bananas. These guys changed a lot over time. Their seeds were tougher and their skin didn't look the same, but the main difference is, of course, the taste. Bananas taste different because of their genes. This is Cavendish bananas, aka bananas from the supermarket we all eat, are at great risk. A couple of years ago, they made up 95% of all banana exports, but they're inevitably disappearing because of the fungi infections spread over the plantations. So, people will have to cultivate a new banana type that will probably appear bland in comparison with the ones we're used to. Do you like corn? A big lump with knobs. It has the juice. Right, but the original before selective breeding corn wasn't big nor juicy. It used to be a mere grass called teosinte, and its kernels weren't big enough to feed even a kitten, not to mention an adult human. And it wasn't that edible either. It had a hard shell, so the kernels weren't easy to reach unless you had a heavy hammer to hit it a couple of times to open the shell. Luckily, some smart people started choosing the desired teosinte plant with the largest kernels. Unlike its ancestor, modern corn contains 4 times more sugar and doesn't taste like raw potato. Fancy mac and cheese? In 2016, a large manufacturer, Kraft, admitted they had changed the original recipe. No one actually noticed much difference, but the changes were for the better. All they did was replace artificial colorings with natural spices. This way, they added paprika and turmeric. I love avocado toast, but they would have been much different and way less creamy and delicate, but for, you guessed it right, selective breeding. It all started with wild avocados. Those guys were small, only about 3 inches wide, and that would have been okay, but the size of the stone was impressive. Not to mince words, there was almost no flesh. Roughly, one of today's supermarket avocados equals 10 wild avocados. And actually, grabbing 10 avocados for one toast is not the biggest problem. Wild avocado skin is far too tough to be cut, so you'd need a machete to make a toast. This one is not about taste, this one is about size. And when it comes to chocolate, size does matter. Sadly, in the early 2010s, the Snickers bar was reduced for the first time in over 80 years. Snickers lost about 11% of its original size, which equals 30 calories. For the rest, it's still the same old Snickers we all love. McDonald's food tastes pretty much the same wherever you grab it, but not whenever you grab it. In 1990, McDonald's switched to pure vegetable oil. But if you could travel back in time, you might have tried old-style McDonald's fries cooked in a blend of 93% beef tallow and 7% cottonseed oil. The classic Oreo cookie has had several alterations too. In the 1990s, they removed the lard and started using trans fats instead. About 10 years later, those trans fats were replaced by vegetable oil. Fun Oreo fact: double-stuffed Oreo cookies aren't double-stuffed in fact. A math teacher, Dan Anderson, assigned a cool task to his students. They weighed 10 regular Oreos, 10 double stuffed Oreos, 10 mega stuffed Oreos, and 5 wafers. Turns out, double stuffed Oreos are only 1.86 stuffed Oreos. I love the soft marshmallow texture. Still, back in the day, they were even easier to chew. What we have today as marshmallows are the squishy gelatin pillows, right? Old-style ones were more like syrup. That syrup was extracted from the roots of the marshmallow plant and mixed with different toppings. I know you don't believe such a plant exists. It's something I'm not sure how to pronounce, but you can read it. Here's the picture. Time to get shocked. Number 1. Nope, apple pie isn't originally American. It's among the earliest recipes recorded in Britain. Number 2. Some apple pie recipes featured meat, fish, and bird. Sounds weird and even a bit gross. Okay, let me tell you a bit more about a normal apple pie recipe from 1380. All you need are apples, dates, prunes, pears, raisins, something similar to cinnamon, mace, cloves, sugar, sandalwood, and unicorn tears. Just kidding. Cinnamon wasn't very popular back then. Sugar was pricey. So to sweeten it all up, people loved to use grains of paradise, better known as pepper. And there was no edible crust. That idea came to people sometime later. Selective breeding. Here we go again. Around 4000 BC, peaches looked more like cherries until the Chinese domesticated them. Here's the old-time peach skin. Waxy on the outside, slightly over 60% of flesh is edible, and a huge stone. In 2022, there's no one around who tried the original cherry-like peaches, but scientists claim the taste was dramatically different, salty, and even similar to lentils. With time, the peach evolved into a sweet, soft-skinned fruit with a relatively small stone. Eggplants. Today, there's only one shape this veggie may have, but it used to come in a variety of shapes. Even the name derives from the fact that they were white and round. However, they didn't limit to one color only. They could also be blue and yellow. The great changes started when this veggie was domesticated in China, Thailand, and India. It's pretty clear the taste was different too. They say it used to be bitter and was used for medicinal purposes only. Ugh, I'm not really into eggplants today. I bet those of the past wouldn't be to my liking either. Hey, not all the changes are for the better. Sadly, we'll never try the original strawberry, but the studies claim that it tasted much sweeter before cultivation. The thing is, when performing selective breeding, farmers paid attention to the size, as the original wild strawberries were tiny and resistant to outer conditions. The shape of strawberries we know now is due to the mixing of two breeds, the original wild strawberry and the Chilean strawberry that was once brought to France. Let's travel to 10th century Persia. If you're a fan of carrots, don't even try to look for orange ones. They were originally white and purple. The flavor was much stronger and they looked different too. Those original ones were much thinner. Some centuries later, the carrot seeds were sent to Europe and selectively bred. As a result, we have orange and way less bitter carrots now. Fun fact, baby carrots aren't a different species. These are the same carrots, but trimmed and sized down. Okay, this one looks a bit like a cactus. Seems weird and totally not edible, right? Well, it's the ancestor of a cucumber. This guy has changed a lot over time. You see those spikes? Some of today's cucumbers got rid of them completely and can boast a silky smooth skin, while others still do have that spiky resemblance to their ancestor. Also, the old version cucumber had only 4 seeds inside, unlike its modern counterpart. Anyway, the main difference between them is that you don't want to slice some of the old-time cucumbers in your salad. It was toxic and non-edible. Things with tomatoes are a bit more complicated, as their evolution happened in 2 stages. It all started with the wild ancestors that were as tiny as berries and had different colors like yellow, purple, and green. The wild ancestors evolved into yellow tomatoes, which evolved into something we know today as cherry tomatoes. Hey, have you noticed that the tomatoes get less flavorful each year? It's because they lost some of their genes over time. That's the downside of selective breeding. The second stage started when people cultivated cherry tomatoes into those large ones we need to make a perfect burger and ketchup. By the way, 200 years ago, ketchup was used as medicine. Doctors used to believe tomatoes had a lot of medicinal properties, and so did ketchup. Did someone say ketchup? I guess this is the leader on the list. This condiment has nothing in common with the original version. First off, it was tomato-free. Second, it was made from fish entrails, meat byproducts, and soybeans. Third, it was created in China, and its original name was Getsap or Ketchup.
So you're watching your favorite cooking show when suddenly the star chef adds a pinch of salt to some jam that's supposed to go into a dessert. You pick up the phone to call and complain, but right then the chef explains. It turns out that adding salt to fruit is a common thing in different cuisines across the world. Like in Mexico, they like to spice up mango and citrus fruits with salt and chili powder. You can try mango with a shrimp taste in the Philippines and salted watermelon in the southern states. So, how does it work? Well, let's say you're eating a raw mango sprinkled with salt. With the first bite, you notice the salty flavor, and the sweet fruity taste is then slightly delayed. It feels as juicy and amazing as ever. It's most likely because salt affects the sweet taste receptor for sugar, and then really magic happens on a molecular level. One study even found that we have more sugar detectors in our taste cells than scientists previously thought. One of those detectors must direct sugar to a sweet taste cell when it gets in contact with salt. You can try and put salt on any fruit you like, but the effect will be different. Salt can make sweeter fruits like cherries and strawberries even sweeter and balance the flavor of grapefruit, pineapple, and watermelon. Just take a ripe fruit and slice it the regular way and sprinkle the pieces with salt. Large, flaked sea salt might taste more intense, plus it looks more beautiful. After 10 minutes, your gourmet dessert will be ready. So, you need to chop up a heap of iceberg lettuce, but that tough core in the middle doesn't want to leave. Just hold the lettuce head in both hands with the core end down and slam it against a cutting board or some other solid surface, not your brother. Now you should be able to pull the core right out of the bottom and slice the rest of the lettuce without a problem. The next time you take butter out of the fridge and struggle to spread it because, it's hard as a rock, reach for your grater. With its help, you'll easily flake off tiny pieces of butter that will melt instantly on a warm toast. You can also spread them much easier on cold bread without putting your sandwich in the microwave or waiting for a while to soften the butter. Professional bakers approve of this tip and have been using it for a long time. When you're frying something, you first heat the pan and then put the food on it, right? Well, this logic won't work if you want to make your bacon crispy. On a hot pan, the meat will cook before the fat can melt out of it. Your bacon will be too fatty and rubbery. So you gotta lay the strips on a cold pan and then turn on medium-low heat. The fat will render out of the meat, and the final result will be super yummy and crispy. Have you ever tried boiling pasta in a frying pan? I know it sounds a bit weird, but it can actually help you save a lot of time, water, and energy. Instead of filling a huge pot with water and waiting for it to boil, put your pasta in a frying pan and cover it with cold water and add some salt to it. Your pasta will be cooking while the water is getting to the boiling point, so it'll be ready much faster than normal. And the water that's left in the pan will make an excellent base for a sauce because it's filled with starch. Mix it with pesto, tomato sauce, and garlic butter. It tastes like it's straight out of a gourmet restaurant. Now, the secret to cooking the most delicious and fluffy mashed potatoes is to dry them before you mash them. After boiling, you can either put them in a pot and leave them over low heat on the stovetop, or keep them in a baking sheet in a low oven. Then add melted butter that will coat the starch in the potatoes, and only then slowly add milk. Now your mashed potatoes will have the best possible structure and flavor. If you've shed enough tears over onions when trying to slice them, this one is a must-try for you. Peel the onions, cut them in half, and leave them in a fridge in a bowl of iced water for half an hour before you start cooking. The reason behind your tears is the sulfur that onions take from the soil while growing up. When you damage its cells, the acids contact the enzymes that start a whole bunch of reactions and release a chemical that makes your eyes water. Freezing the onion can weaken that chemical. To minimize it even more, only use a sharp knife to slice onions. This way, you'll do less damage to its cells. It's much easier to peel an avocado if you freeze it first. Just put it in the fridge as it is, give it some time, and then take it out and hold it under warm running water. Now you can peel it easily after you make a couple of crisscross incisions. The best way to keep herbs fresh and juicy is to store them like flowers. If you don't have the right size vase or vase, take a mason jar or a water glass and fill it with an inch of water. Now put the herbs inside as you would do to your roses. For parsley and cilantro, cover the jar with a plastic bag and store the bouquet in the fridge. Basil loves sunlight, so you better leave it uncovered on the counter. If you've made too much sauce or have some leftovers in a can that doesn't seem to be enough for anything, you can save it from the trash can. Pour the sauce into an ice cube tray and keep it in the freezer. Now, if you need to spice up a meal, you can always add a couple of sauce cubes to it. Plus, as a bonus, which is redundant, the sauce will last longer this way than it would in the fridge. Do your meatballs always turn out to be perfectly the same shape and size? Then skip this one. But if you're like me, just use an ice cream scoop to get the right amount of your minced meat mix. Try saying that 5 times. The balls will be the ideal shape and your fingers won't get sticky. The easiest and probably the most beautiful way to slice a mango is to turn it into a hedgehog. Wash the mango under running water. Don't squeeze it while doing it. Now put it straight up on a cutting board and cut it into 3 pieces from the top downwards. Just leave that flat pit in the middle piece. There isn't much you can do with it anyway. Now your mango will have 2 cute cheeks. I mean, its fattest parts. Next, make crosswise and lengthwise cut in the mango cheeks. Leave some even distance between the incisions and don't go all the way through the skin. Now press on the back side of the mango until the flesh pokes out. Does it look like something to you? Yep, a hedgehog. Hence the name of this slicing method. The final step will be to slice off the mango cubes into a bowl. Then eat. Now this one has all the potential to become your new breakfast favorite. You can cook an omelet in a mug. Take a large microwave-safe mug and coat the inside of it with olive oil or spray it with cooking spray. Add 2 eggs and 1 tablespoon of milk and mix them with a fork. Now add salt and pepper and any cheese, veggies, and herbs you like. Put it in the microwave on high for 30 seconds. Take it out, stir it with a fork, and then put it back for another 30 seconds. And voila! Your breakfast is served. Oh, be sure to use another mug for your coffee. Otherwise, you get eggs in your coffee, and nobody has a recipe for that.
Is this safe to eat? We sometimes see strange dots on our potatoes and wonder if we should just throw them away. Here are 10 eat or toss facts. Did you know that every year 119 billion pounds of food is wasted only in the United States? To put it in perspective, this number means nearly 40% of all food in America is wasted. People throw away food if they don't have confidence in the ingredients. They're being cautious, and it makes sense. But what if the food is safe to eat and only looks weird? The first item on the list is beef. When it comes to meat, people naturally get extra cautious. Imagine you buy some raw beef in the store. Later on, you realize it's got some brown spots. If you toss it immediately, hear me out. This is normal. In fact, you can see brown layers also inside the beef. Bright red color equals fresh meat, huh? Not necessarily. When the meat is first cut, it's maroon. If the meat is quickly vacuum packaged, it will keep that shade. But if the meat is exposed to air for like 15 minutes, then oxygen will cause a change in the look to red. The redness can turn brown when the biochemical reaction starts. This can take a few hours. Workers at the grocery stores grind the meat several times a day to achieve that bright red color because they know consumers are cautious about maroon-looking beef. If the beef is wrapped in an oxygen-permeable plastic, it turns bright red after exposure to oxygen. As long as the meat smells and feels fresh, and if it's been stored properly, it should be safe to eat. Have you ever come across dark lines under a shrimp shell? This one has a similar story to beef. Black lines on your shrimp's flesh are related to a natural phenomenon. They gradually occur after shrimps are taken from the water. Meat is exposed to oxygen, and the blackness gets more visible over time. Here also, the pattern of the animal itself can be a factor. These black lines can be a naturally occurring discoloration on the shrimp. Think of cats. They also have different color patterns, but they're the same in terms of species. Next time, you can conduct a mini experiment in your kitchen. Put a couple of shrimp side by side and observe the mild differences in the shrimp's color patterns. Shrimp will have a distinct bad odor when it's no longer edible, so if it smells and tastes fresh, don't toss it. Should you eat moldy yogurt? That green substance on the surface doesn't look appealing at all. But if you scoop it out, you seem to have clean yogurt underneath. The short answer is toss it. The mold could be seen on the top only, but it has probably gone deep. Not to mention that it'll taste bad. Many molds are harmless, but some produce toxic substances. Green mold is a type of penicillium. Does this word sound familiar? That's the same type of mold used in the antibiotic penicillin. Don't get too excited. Eating moldy yogurt won't magically cure bacterial infections. It only spoils your dairy products. In 2013, there was an outbreak related to one line of yogurts. The company handed the products to stores as usual. After some time, they received customer complaints. They said that the yogurt looked like yogurt soup and tasted really old. Turns out that a type of fungus probably released some carbon dioxide. It made the product fizzy and bloating. Ugh. The company and another independent scientist both said that this fungus in question wasn't usually harmful to people. Yet, more than 200 people reported becoming affected by it. So, these sorts of things can still happen. You should trust your spidey sense. If you've ever been lucky enough to see some mold in a freshly opened package, reach out to the manufacturer. You'll potentially save others from facing the same scenery by notifying the company about a systemic issue and preventing potential future product waste. Plus, the company probably wants to make amends and either reimburse your sad yogurt with a happy one, or better, they'll give you coupons for free products. Why do avocados sometimes have brown dots inside? Technically, it's edible, but you might not want to eat it. Avocados are a source of many vitamins like C, E, K, and B6, as well as healthy stuff like magnesium, potassium, and more. The avocado works hard to become such a health storage. Nutrients, water, and sugars wander around this fruit. Yes, technically, avocado is classified as a fruit. Anyway, avocados have their own transport channels, like veins. These channels are normally invisible to us. Until something goes out of the ordinary, the avocado may be stored in too cold temperatures for a longer time than it should. As a result, the tissue cells might be weakened and start to deteriorate. Experts say that after the fruit is harvested, if it stays in the refrigerator for a few weeks before you buy it, vascular browning can occur. This phenomenon becomes visible after you keep the avocado at room temperature for a few days. Don't be hard on yourself, it's not because of you. So, should you eat it or toss it? You can eat the brown dotted avocados, but you may want to taste them first. They might not taste good compared to a regular one. What about the white area under the potato peel? Eat or toss? This area is also like dark bruise marks, but it's not black. If the outer layer of the potato looks normal, that odd-looking white knot is not mold. The moldy potatoes deteriorate. They'll get softer, wrinkled, or squishy. As long as the exterior of this potato appears clean and regular, there's probably no harmful microbial growth inside of it. These strikingly white areas can be shaped due to potatoes being bruised, possibly in the field during the harvesting period. To sum up, you can eat it. There's also an issue of white smears coming out when we slice potatoes. You see the marks on the cutting board? Experts say that some potatoes have a higher level of water and starch content. As a result, your cutting board gets a bit messier than usual. No need to worry about it. I'm gonna carry on with another form of potato. Not because I love every version of potato and I can eat it in all meals from breakfast to dinner, but because I want to know, what are those brown spots on potato chips? Should we eat or toss them? Consider these as minor imperfections. They don't affect the safety of the chip. They're there again because of the bruises they get or as a result of frying. Sometimes you see that your garlic is trying to make more garlic out of itself. Yep, it has sprouted. The question is it okay to eat sprouted cloves, or should you toss them? If the green sprout is in the center of the garlic clove, that's fine. Be aware that the taste of the garlic will be stronger than it usually is. It will still be perfectly okay in a cooked meal, since it'll be alongside other ingredients. The taste shouldn't be that harsh. Can we eat an apple with worms? Most people can't even stand the idea of accidentally eating an apple with a worm, but that's a cultural thing. So the answer is yes, we can eat it. After all, worms add a little protein to the fruit. These animals don't carry any harmful parasites. They make their way into the apple. The entrance point of the fruit might have an off flavor since it got sort of rotten in time. Besides the taste, the rotten part is all safe to bite. What might not be so safe is eating the fallen apples though. Those have probably been hanging out on the ground for quite some time. This period might be enough for the harmful bacteria from the soil to sneak into the apple. There were some cases where people experienced health issues by drinking unpasteurized apple juice made from dropped apples. Yeah, the ones that interact with unhealthy bacteria.
Many people try to store different types of food in the fridge, just in case. It seems like the smartest decision to extend a product's lifespan. But it's not that simple. For some foods, the fridge can be harmful. For example, sauces. If the package doesn't say otherwise, it's better to keep them outside the fridge. You can put them in a cupboard that is far from your oven to protect sauces from temperature changes. The worst enemy of coffee beans is moisture. Special oil in coffee beans is responsible for that pleasant and cozy coffee smell. When you place your coffee in the fridge, condensation changes its entire cell structure and makes all the magic disappear. But if your goal is to get off caffeine, maybe it is a good idea to store your beans in the cold. Rumor has it that honey is an immortal food. You can store it almost forever, but make sure to do it properly. Keep honey in a cold and dark place, but don't put it in your fridge. Otherwise, it may crystallize and lose some of its major beneficial properties. Putting tomatoes into the fridge seems pretty harmless, but it's not the best idea. It will make tomatoes lose their delicious flavor because cold air slows down the natural ripening process. Thus, the thin membranes inside of the tomatoes get less juicy. And you don't want your salad to be watery and tasteless, do you? The best way to store tomatoes is in a well-ventilated box or basket at room temperature. If you want to keep sliced bananas from getting brown, use citrus juice. Just drizzle orange or lemon juice over the cut bananas. Unfortunately, this trick only works for a few hours. The perfect way to store your chocolate is inside your stomach. Just kidding. Keep it away from the fridge and store it in a cool, dark place. This way you don't only protect your dessert from your sweet tooth roommates, but also keep its attractive appearance. It's not a good idea to put your chocolate in the fridge because the temperature difference will create some condensed water on the surface of the chocolate bar. And keeping it away from the fridge is safer for your teeth. Chocolate tends to harden at low temperatures, which makes each bite more difficult. Don't keep your hummus at room temperature. It doesn't matter whether it's homemade or pasteurized. In both cases, it's not safe. If the hummus is traditional and doesn't contain any preservatives, its lifespan is up to 1 week. As for unopened supermarket hummus, you can store it in your fridge for about 3 months and for 1 week once you've opened it. Let's say you've just baked the perfect cookies. It's time to put them in a jar or container. Unfortunately, the cookies will eventually lose that precious out-of-the-oven feel and keep getting harder and harder as the days go by. But if you add a slice of bread to that same container, the cookies will keep their soft texture for much longer. That's because cookies will absorb moisture from the bread. People usually wrap cheese in plastic packages, but this solution is far from perfect. Plastic wrap attracts too much moisture, which creates an ecosystem for mold to grow and prosper. If you want to protect your cheese from this bitter scenario, sprinkle it with vinegar, but don't use more than a few drops. Otherwise, it'll ruin the original taste of your cheese. After that step, wrap your cheese tightly in wax paper and put it in the fridge. There are no special rules about eggs. It's safe to store them both inside and outside the fridge, as long as their expiration date is fine. It's important to make sure the temperature is stable and consistent. If your choice is to put eggs in the fridge, don't keep them on the side shelf. To protect them from temperature fluctuations, put the eggs deeper in the fridge. Also, experts don't recommend removing the eggs from their package. These containers are actually meant to extend the lifespan of the eggs. Yes, the temperature is not equal all over your fridge. The shelves on the door are the warmest area, for example. And the closer the shelf is to the freezer, the lower the temperature gets. So, if you want to create perfect food distribution inside your fridge, don't skip the specific storage recommendations that are mentioned on some packages. If you store a loaf of bread in the supermarket package, get ready to see some mold in a couple of days. It's better to keep your bread in a firmly closed box with a little bit of salt. This tip will protect it from the mold. Also, avoid keeping bread in the fridge because cold air will make it stale very quickly. But when you need to save bread for a long time, you can put it in the freezer. This way, it'll stay fresh for up to 6 months. If you want to keep sliced cucumbers from drying out, put them in an airtight container and pour fresh water in it. Don't store them in the fridge for more than a week. As for the whole cucumbers, keep in mind that they rot in the cold air way faster than at room temperature. If you want to keep them fresh for as long as possible, store them outside the fridge. Avocado is a tricky fruit with tricky storage rules. If your avocado is hard and not fully ripe yet, keep it away from the fridge because cold air will slow down the ripening process. Bananas emit high levels of ethylene, which helps avocados ripen faster. So, if you want to accelerate the process, put it in a bag with one or several bananas. At the same time, if your avocado is soft and ripe, storing it in the fridge will keep it from going bad. Some people prefer wrapping cut avocado in plastic wrap together with a slice of onion. This tip helps the fruit to stay fresh longer. Another way is to cover it with olive oil. Keep in mind that cut avocado can be stored in the fridge for no longer than 3 days. Keep your onions and garlic away from the fridge. Low temperatures will cause mold way faster. If you want to keep them fresh for a long time, store them in a cool, dry place. For example, in the kitchen cupboard. And if you don't mind some country house style in your kitchen, tie the onions to one another and keep them hanging. Also, avoid storing oranges and other citrus fruits in the fridge. Unfortunately, low temperatures make these fruits less tasty and less beneficial for your health. You can store them in a fruit bowl, on a shelf, or kitchen table. Don't worry, this won't speed up their rotting. Just like many other vegetables, eggplants don't like low temperatures. In the fridge, they get soft and lose their good qualities way faster. Keep these veggies away from direct sunlight in some dry space at room temperature. If you've sliced an apple, but you don't want to eat it right away, here's a tip. Put a rubber band around the slices to hold them together. It'll keep the apple from turning brown. This fruit will stay fresh and crispy for as long as a whole month when stored in a moisture-resistant bag in a fridge. It's advised to avoid washing apples before storing them, as it might cause spoilage. Never put olive oil inside your fridge. If you've made this mistake before, you've probably noticed those weird white pieces inside the oil. Don't worry, it's not toxic. In fact, low temperatures in the fridge cause water condensation, which looks like unpleasant impurities. It's better to keep your olive oil at room temperature and far from direct sunlight. Watermelons and other melons, kept at room temperature, contain more beneficial nutrients and antioxidants compared to those kept in the fridge. But once you cut your watermelon, it's better to store it in the fridge. Use plastic wrap to cover the cut side tightly and replace it each time you cut your watermelon. Also, you can cut your melon or watermelon in smaller slices and store them in an airtight container in your fridge for up to 1 week. Freezing ginger will allow you to keep it fresh for 2 to 9 months and maintain its quality. You can also grate it in advance so you can take 1 spoonful at a time. This will save you time, especially on those busy days when you need to prepare something fast.
How about eating a banana with mayo? Dipping pickles in peanut butter? These food combinations do sound pretty wild, but how do they taste? Well, give them a try, and Oreos with mustard might become your favorite dish. Okay, stay with me here. Tomatoes and peanut butter. Put several slices of tomato on a piece of bread and spread some peanut butter over the sandwich. Or just slather a thick layer of peanut butter over a slice of tomato. This taste combination is surprisingly popular with many foodies. Nutella and French fries. Salt tends to enhance flavors. That's why if you dip your French fries in Nutella, the famous hazelnut spread will taste sweeter and nuttier. Yes, the pun was intended. Another way to enjoy your French fries even more is to wash them down with chocolate milk. Banana and bacon. Salty, crispy bacon combined with sweet, carb-heavy banana makes a perfect mix. Put these ingredients on a slice of bread, add some peanut butter, voila! Your perfect sandwich is ready. Pickles and ice cream. Well, I admit this combination might not be just for everyone, but there are foodies who find this unusual mix of salty and sweet, vinegary and milky, strangely alluring. Cheddar cheese and apple pie. These days you can surprise no one by serving sliced cheese together with fresh apples. But since these products get along quite well, why don't you take it one step further? They say the idea of adding cheddar cheese to apple pies first appeared in England, and after that, it spread all over the world. French fries and honey. If you want to turn your French fries experience into something different and more exciting, honey will do the trick. Its sweet flavor will complement the fast food saltiness. No wonder some restaurants have honey among other dipping options. Banana and mayo. Nope. By no means do I encourage you to squeeze a healthy dollop of mayonnaise on a peeled banana and stuff it into your mouth. Instead, try sandwiching a sliced banana between two pieces of bread and coat it with a bit of mayo. You might be in for a pleasant surprise. Chocolate and chips. This salty-sweet combination tastes amazing. No wonder chocolate-covered chips are a thing, and many brands have already added this mix to their product lines. Burger and jam. These days you can order this combo in most restaurants, and no one will think you're a weirdo. Well, mostly no one. More and more people choose this option over the regular one with ketchup. Popcorn and milk. Some unique individuals replace breakfast cereal with popcorn. They add milk and claim that this dish tastes no worse than its more widespread and popular alternative. Care to try? White chocolate and red caviar. They say this unlikely food combo was created by a famous chef. He was amazed at how the salty caviar softened the sweetness of the white chocolate. If you're a fan of sweet salty tastes, you're going to love it. Peanut butter and pickles. Let's say you aren't too enthusiastic about dipping pickles into sturdy peanut butter. Then try combining these ingredients in a sandwich. In this case, the vinegary flavor of the pickles will dilute the stickiness of the peanut butter. Watermelon and salt. Those who have never tried this taste combination often think that salt rids watermelon of its sweetness. But the truth is quite the opposite. A pinch of salt will only enhance the flavor. Mango and chili pepper. If you're a spicy food lover, this combination might catch your fancy. You can sprinkle some hot chili pepper on a sliced mango and enjoy the burn. Peanut butter and bacon. Remember that banana and bacon combo? It's time to replace the banana with some peanut butter. Its smoothness will contrast with the crispiness of the bacon. Careful, you might get addicted fast. Ice cream and hot sauce. The most effective way to put out the fire caused by spicy food in your mouth is to drink some milk. Then why not step it up a notch? Drizzle some spicy sauce over your vanilla ice cream to please your adventurous soul. Chocolate and avocado. It's not only about adding a bit of chocolate to your avocado toast. You can also make a mouth-watering avocado and chocolate milkshake. Then the buttery texture of avocado will perfectly complement the flavor of chocolate. Burger and peanut butter. Ooh. Burgers with jam are more of a sweetmeat-salty combination. But burgers with peanut butter are a salt with more salt kind of situation. But instead of spreading melted peanut butter all over your burger, you have to add it while making beef patties, and your burgers are bound to become juicier. Oreos and mustard. Those who have tried this food combo promise that the flavors go with each other amazingly well. Scratch away an Oreo cookie frosting and replace it with German mustard. You won't regret it. Peanut butter and mayo. While it's one of the most bizarre combinations you can imagine in a sandwich, it has a long history. People started to mix peanut butter, rich in proteins, and mayo, full of fats, during tough times. But later, the sandwich stuck around once people realized it was actually delicious. Pizza and honey. Hot honey can make an unexpected but undeniably awesome pizza topping. For example, it's a great way to balance the excessive amount of salt coming with, let's say, pepperoni. So, if you cook pizza at home, put some pepperoni and peppers on top of it. Then coat it with honey. You can thank me later. Olive oil and ice cream. To get a mega delicious salty sweet combo, sprinkle some olive oil and a bit of sea salt on the top of your vanilla ice cream. Really, go for it. Peanut butter and sriracha. Yet another unexpected combination of two seemingly incompatible ingredients. But in fact, the sweet aftertaste of sriracha will make the sticky peanut butter taste more interesting. And the butter, in turn, will take the edge off the sriracha's spiciness. Green apples and salsa. You might have tried mangoes or pineapples mixed with salsa sauce. But then, why should it be any different with green apples? Their slightly sour taste is perfect for spicy dishes. It does offset some heat, but at the same time, their flavor adds a strong and a bit bitter taste to the mix. Strawberries and balsamic. This is a tried-and-true Italian combination that works amazingly well. The savoriness of the vinegar makes strawberries taste sweeter. It also complements their juicy nature. Watermelon and feta. No classic Greek salad can go without feta, but this cheese can taste no worse when you combine it with fruit, watermelon in particular. The dense structure and saltiness of feta will add extra flavor to the juicy red goodness. Peanut butter, jelly, and goldfish crackers sandwich. Now, peanut butter and jam have long been a classic, but why goldfish crackers? True foodies know that this component fills in all the remaining gaps. Your sandwich gets a satisfying crunch. It becomes more savory, and the crackers are just salty enough to balance the sweetness of the jelly. Basil and strawberry. I've already mentioned the benefits of mixing strawberries with balsamic vinegar, but strawberries and basil are just as good. You can test this combination while making lemonades and other drinks. Basil and strawberry frozen yogurt taste just as delicious. Pickle brine and chicken. Cooking chicken in pickle brine helps keep the meat juicy. At the same time, this method preserves the natural flavor of poultry meat. Another benefit? You don't need to use salt in the process. The brine is already salty enough. Hummus and dried cranberries. After dipping your cracker in hummus, top it with several dried cranberries. They make a world of difference by adding a tiny bit of tang.
This creature first appeared on our planet around 1 billion years ago. It thrives in damp environments and can survive pretty much anywhere. It might be in your basement as we speak. I think you've already guessed I'm talking about mold here. It's a type of fungus that spreads through tiny particles moving through the air. These spores are like the seeds of a plant, although they're much smaller. Sometimes they cling onto clothes or animal fur and travel long distances unnoticed. They can survive even in some unfriendly environments and start growing when they land somewhere with enough water, food, and oxygen. Mold comes in all colors of the rainbow, and each color stands for a certain type of mold. You can usually find red or orange mold outdoors. The pink variety likes to reside in bathrooms on shampoo and soap residues. Black and green mold are the types you're most likely to meet in your house. Unlike plants that use photosynthesis, mold grows on materials it can digest. Even one tiny mold spore is powerful enough to harm several people. But there are over 100,000 different types of mold in the world, and not all of them are dangerous to you. Ugh, you just noticed something green on your sandwich, but only a small part of it is infected, so maybe you can just cut it off. Nope, it won't work out. The tiny greenish spots you see are on the surface, and you can spot them with the naked eye. but there's more hiding inside the bread. But if it was 1 second too late and you've bitten into the bright green patch of mold, don't rush to the bathroom to scrub your tongue with antibacterial soap. You've probably eaten mold before without even knowing about it. It easily grows on soft, porous foods like bread, fruit, and vegetables. So, consuming just a bit of it is okay, as long as you have a strong immune system. You'll digest it like any normal food. If you feel sick after consuming it, that's most likely because mold tastes weird, and not because there's some vicious substance spreading through your body. So, the best you can do if you spot mold on your bread is not to risk your health and throw away the entire loaf. Mold likes to settle in cooked leftovers like meat, poultry, casseroles, grain, pasta, cottage and cream cheese, yogurt, and sour cream. It's easier for mold to penetrate softer food, so it also loves fruits and vegetables like strawberries, cucumbers, peaches, and tomatoes. Jams and jellies are another easy target for mold, as it thrives in sweet and sugary foods. Yikes! Mold isn't always the bad guy ruining your lunch. You've got to thank it for that exquisite taste of blue cheeses, like Gorgonzola, Roquefort, and Blue. Camembert and Brie wouldn't be so delicious without the white mold on their surface. Cheese is 99.99% milk, and its makers grow mold either inside or outside the cheese, depending on its sort. But if you find mold on a cheese that shouldn't have it, like cheddar, Parmesan, or Swiss, it means the molds added to any cheese to give it taste have come into contact with oxygen and started reproducing and breaking down fats and proteins uncontrollably. You should cut off the affected part carefully with a knife without touching the mold. The rest of the cheese is still good to eat. It would be impossible to produce soy sauce without fermenting soybeans, and it happens thanks to a certain type of fungi. Salami fans should appreciate mold for the unique flavor it gives to the meat, and for preventing it from drying out too quickly. Mold has also saved millions of lives. Penicillium mold helped achieve a real breakthrough in medical science, as it naturally produces the well-known penicillin, accidentally discovered by Scottish researcher Alexander Fleming in 1928. Some types of mold can also help you in the garden as a great mulch. Some gardening fans spend years trying to grow leaf mold to use for compost. They believe it improves soil quality. To prevent mold from overtaking your lunch, keep the food covered with plastic wrap in the fridge. Don't keep leftovers of perishable foods in their cans. Put them in airtight containers instead. Keep track of what you store in the fridge. Leftovers shouldn't be there for longer than 3 to 4 days. Keep your fridge clean. Only use fresh and clean dishcloths, towels, sponges, and mops. Once you notice a musty smell, it means mold is about to settle in your kitchen, and its plan is to contaminate your food. But what if mold spreads in the damp areas of your house? You might not notice any consequences for your health immediately, but they might resurface in the long term. As mold grows, its spores and fragments can produce irritants in the air inside your house. Depending on how sensitive you are, you might notice it's becoming hard to breathe. And since mold slowly but surely breaks materials in your house, there will be more dust and other particles in the air. When you try to get rid of the bad mold in your house, you might accidentally touch it without any protection. It won't take your life, but don't let it sit on your hands. First off, clean your hands well with antibacterial soap. Clean between your fingers and the back of each hand thoroughly, and also scrub underneath the nails. If you can't reach some spores, use a toothpick. Then, clean your hands with a strong sanitizer. The final step will be to wash your hands with liquid soap under running water. Again, don't miss the areas between your fingers and under your nails. Don't touch your face until your hands are perfectly clean. You don't want to accidentally inhale those spores. You should also take off the clothes you were wearing when you came into contact with mold and wash it immediately. It's impossible to mold-proof your home, but you can make it resistant to that mean intruder. Inspect your house and find the problem areas. It could be a flood in your basement, a water stain on the ceiling, or a window that's always covered with condensation. Fix those problems and install proper ventilation in the house. AC units and dehumidifiers will help. Open a window while cooking or showering to keep the moisture outside. Make sure your roof gutters are regularly cleaned and fixed. Invest in a moisture meter and monitor the humidity inside. Ideally, it should be between 30 and 60%. Always remove wet clothes from the washing machine unless you want to share your garments with mold. The best you can do is hang them to dry outside in fresh air and wait while they get completely dry before putting them in your wardrobe. Empty and air out drawers and closets you rarely open every now and then. Never leave the bathroom floor and walls wet after you take a shower. And clean your house regularly. Then nasty mold won't have a chance. The moist soil in your houseplants is every mold's dream. To save them, don't overwater them and let fresh air circulate in the room where your plants live. If you see mold is starting to grow on your plants, mix 2 tablespoons of white vinegar and some water in a spray bottle and apply the mix to your plants. You can also do the same thing using a tablespoon of baking soda. There's a common myth that bleach can help you get rid of mold. In reality, it will only help you remove the visible part, but the spores will survive and keep spreading. Depending on what you do for a living, you may also meet mold in your workplace. Poorly ventilated spaces, greenhouses, farms, and even bookstores and libraries are in the risk zone here. Paper contains cellulose, and it's a perfect food source for some types of mold. Old books that have been stored in a humid room for many years could be hiding millions of mold spores. The rules to protect yourself in a workspace are pretty much the same as for your house. Clean it regularly, dry damp surfaces, and if it's impossible, wear protective gloves when you have to come into contact with mold.
All right, you're going through the veggie bin in your fridge, and there it is. Among uneaten fruits and vegetables, lying there, rotting in the crisper, as a constant reminder of that healthy diet you promised yourself you'd start on Monday. That asparagus you got at the grocery store a week ago. Yeah. Okay, here's some motivation. Asparagus is packed with these wonderful things called antioxidants. They help lower the harmful effects of, basically, anything, including stress. And if you're forever struggling to decrease the number on the scale, asparagus could be just what you need. It's about 94% water and has as few as 32 calories in a 1-cup serving. That, and the body digests asparagus slowly. So, after eating just a handful, you'll keep feeling full in between meals. That means no more reaching for that midday snack of chips and cookies. Bingo! Hey, if you're like me and tired of getting seasonal flu and colds, then crunch on some carrots. They're loaded with vitamins A and C, which are must-haves for your immune system. Now, don't count on tossing your glasses after getting perfect vision with your new carrot diet. That's a myth. They won't improve your eyesight, but the antioxidants in them do protect your eyes from the types of light that can damage them. Oh yeah, and you might start turning orange if you eat more than 10 carrots a day for a few weeks. If you're a fan of Willy Wonka, now you can flash an Oompa Loompa vibe. If pasta is your guilty pleasure, well, it's not all that bad. First, it doesn't have much fat in it. Plus, it keeps you full for longer. And we already know the perks of that. Just be sure to check if your sauce is good. Opt for mayonnaise-free versions, and make sure your pasta is whole grain. Plenty more junk foods you can reach for without feeling guilty. Popcorn is packed with fiber, which, yet again, keeps you full and is great for your gut. I'm talking digestion. Though your favorite movie snack could also help you lose that spare tire too. It's surprisingly low in calories. Well, before you put the butter on it. Even more shocking, popcorn is good for stress. Yes, the thing that makes us all want to tear our hair out wreaks havoc on the body even at the cellular level. Antioxidants help repair that damage. And here's a tip to keep it healthy. Don't go too far with salt and butter. It's better to have it a bit bland. Now, you'll really like this. M&M's may not be the healthiest sweets, but their blue dye is supposedly kinda magical. Some researchers claim this blue coloring provides a better chance of recovery after spinal injuries. Or you can just skip the spinal injuries if you prefer. How about a peanut butter sandwich? Good news! A standard 2 tablespoons serving of peanut butter has just 3 grams of saturated fat. That's the bad one that blocks blood vessels. And about 12 grams of unsaturated fat. The good kind your body needs. Olive oil, for example, has the same ratio. To make it even healthier, go for unsalted peanut butter and put it on whole grain bread. Regular butter is heavy in bad fats, but it can also help your body better absorb important vitamins like A, D, E, and K. A tip if you're worried about gaining a few extra pounds, opt for whipped butter. It has fewer calories. That's because it's full of air. Any ketchup is loaded with most of the good things any regular tomato has. Your heart likes it, and it can help fight stress. Yes, those magical antioxidants yet again. Try to opt for organic ketchups if you can. They're made from real healthy tomatoes with richer nutrients. At least that's what a recent study from Spain found. And as one of the world's leading tomato producers, they probably know what they're talking about. Sweet potatoes don't have many calories despite their sweetness, but they're rich in a lot of good things for you, like iron, copper, and potassium. It's also full of vitamin B6. That helps your body produce the happiness hormone serotonin. Plus, you'll get 120% of your daily recommended amount for vitamin A. You know, the thing your immune system craves. It's also great for moisturizing your skin and improving complexion. Bacteria and food usually aren't a good mix. Yeah, blame it for all those rotten vegetables in your fridge. But in sauerkraut, they're the perfect match. In fact, people do need bacteria for healthy digestion, but they need the right kind. Sauerkraut helps keep bad bacteria out of your gut, which makes your digestive system work even better. If you're having rice, opt for the brown kind. While white rice is processed, the husk is removed and the rice is polished. The problem is, up to 80% of the B vitamins get unintentionally eliminated too. Other vitamins get completely taken out. Plus, brown rice has more fiber, keeping you feeling nice and full between meals. Got some motion sickness or feeling nauseous? Grab a serving of ginger. And here's a strange one. Ginger helps get rid of body odor. First, the root heats you up and makes you sweat. Nasty toxins in the body make their way out through the sweat, and any unpleasant odors disappear. Ginger is also a natural antibiotic and antioxidant. Take a break from regular water every now and then with coconut water. You still get the hydration you need, plus some added benefits. It's a great source of essential minerals, especially for your body's nervous and muscular systems. Many experts even recommend it as a much better alternative to sugary sports drinks. Sardines are packed with nutrients and even improve blood flow. They have a lot of calcium, tons of protein, yet few calories. Protein is a must for maintaining muscle mass and boosting muscle growth. If you're looking to bulk up and stay that way, there you go, sardines. Another tiny fish that proves size doesn't matter is the anchovy. They too are loaded with protein, calcium, and omega-3 fatty acids, just like any big fish. Hey, order some anchovy pizza next time. If you're lactose intolerant but want to benefit from dairy products, try some kefir. This fermented milk is full of bacteria. Yeah, don't be scared, it's the good kind that may help eliminate or reduce lactose intolerance problems. Try replacing your daily black tea or coffee with some rooibos for a couple weeks. It's a plant used to make red tea, and several studies have linked it with good heart and kidney health. It's a great alternative if you have a bad reaction to caffeine. Red tea doesn't have any. A nice bonus? It has 0 calories, so if you're on a diet, give it a try. If you still avoid dark poultry meat, you may want to reconsider. Sure, light meat is a healthy choice, no argument here. But the fat in the darker parts contains a hormone that stimulates the digestion of fat and protein. Meat from the leg is also packed with taurine, which is essential for good metabolism and digestion. Oats are packed with a whole laundry list of vitamins, that's a given. But they're a must for weight loss. Full of fiber that keeps you energized and full. They also contain more protein and good fats than other grains. Bottom line, oatmeal is one of the healthiest breakfasts you can have, and it's quick and easy to make. Even though coconut oil contains some bad saturated fat, it's still good for your weight and energy levels. Plus, these are fats that can be easily digested. Coconut oil also helps the body burn fat and provides the brain with quick energy, not to mention the hair and skin benefits of it. Rub some on your face or all down your hair from root to tip. It's very moisturizing. There's one yummy way to lose weight if you're a fan of spicy food. Use hot sauces. They add the flavor you love and help cut down your appetite. It's all because of the capsaicin they contain. It's usually in chili peppers. This compound lowers the hunger hormone ghrelin in your body while raising the level of the hormone that's in charge of suppressing your appetite. Woo, double whammy! Spices such as cumin and turmeric are healthier than you might have thought. Turmeric has potent antiviral properties and acts as an anti-inflammatory agent. Cumin is also good at combating bad bacteria, and it's super heart healthy. And now, I'm hungry. Finish clearing out your crisper, and I'm off to lunch. Bye-bye!
3, 2, 1. Bam! Now instead of enjoying the new movie, you will enjoy cleaning your microwave after the popcorn apocalypse. And all this because you trusted the popcorn button too much. It turns out many of those buttons are just timers and not professional chefs hidden in the microwave. Different types of popcorn, and maybe even different batches of your favorite one, have different popping times. It depends on the weight and humidity of the corn, and there's no magical cooking regime that would work for them all. If you don't give your popcorn enough time to pop because you rely on the button, it will be undercooked and full of kernels. If you let it pop for too long, it'll burn, and the smell will be with you for longer than you'd want it to. Some newer, fancy microwave models come with humidity sensors that take all the factors into account and can actually figure out how to cook your popcorn. All you have to do is touch a special pad. Check your microwave manual to see if it can do the trick. If that's not your case, you need to follow the instructions on the popcorn bag. Most of them say, do not use the popcorn button. A microwave that works on 700 watts is slower than that with 1,000 watts of power. And even when you did the math or followed the manual to a T, don't leave your popcorn unattended. Give it those several minutes of your life and stay nearby to make sure all is going well. Listen to the popping symphony. When it slows down to 2 to 3 seconds between pops, turn it off. If you overcook it, it can lead to scorching. And even when you follow all the rules, you can't just blame it all on the microwave. Check your popcorn's best buy date. Keep your microwave clean. Always remove the plastic overwrap and unfold the paper bag. Now you should be fine. If you want to experiment more with your microwave, you can try drying herbs in it. Sandwich some fresh herbs between 2 paper towels and microwave them in 30-second intervals until they're as dry as you want them to be. You can also toast nuts the same way, in 30-second intervals in chopped form in a single layer on a plate. Your microwave can also help you peel garlic easily. Put the whole head in for around 20 seconds, and the cloves should slip out of the peels without any problems or smelly fingers. A cube of ice is not something you'd expect to be microwaved, but this trick has taken TikTok by storm. One vlogger tried heating salmon and rice in the microwave with an ice cube and a piece of parchment paper on top. She also added other ingredients like kimchi, mayo, soy sauce, avocado, and dried seaweed. Adding water to reheated ice isn't new, but ice is something rather sensational. A chef instructor explained that an ice cube gives something for the microwave to heat, and the steam diffuses all the way through the food. It helps prevent that annoying situation when only half your meal is properly warmed up. The parchment paper lid also helps to keep the heat in. The steam moves up, hits the paper, and the hot liquid goes down to reheat the food. It takes a while for an ice cube to fully melt in the microwave. The water molecules in it are locked and held together by strong hydrogen bonds. So, it takes a lot of energy to break those bonds. Did you know that microwaving your tea is the best and healthiest way to brew it? Australian scientists proved that this way you can squeeze out all the good stuff in your cuppa. So all you need to do is drop a tea bag in a cup of freshly boiled water for half a minute. Then you need to place it in the microwave with the leaf bag still inside and keep it brewing for 1 minute at 500 watts. Finally, you need to fish out the tea bag and enjoy your drink. A cup of green or white tea has more antioxidant benefits than a portion of broccoli, spinach, carrots, or strawberries. And now, all the benefits are yours. Brewing tea in a microwave is a great alternative to an electric kettle. That kitchen gadget most American households don't have. Yet, they're super popular in the UK. The reason is simply the difference in efficiency. Most American homes run on around 100 volts, and the UK and many other countries use between 220 and 240. The lower the voltage, the slower the speed that the appliance has. So, if we do some simple math, it will show that it would take the same kettle around 1.5 minutes longer to get to boiling temperature in the US than in the UK. The microwave oven that made the lives of so many people easier was invented by accident in the 1940s. Its creator, Percy Spencer, was trying to design a more efficient and effective way to mass-produce radar magnetrons. It's a kind of electric whistle that creates vibrating electromagnetic waves. Spencer was testing one of his magnetrons when he put his hand in his pocket to have a snack. The peanut cluster bar he had inside had melted and turned into a gooey mess. So he couldn't enjoy his snack, but he realized that something unusual had just happened. Spencer ran another test with the magnetron, this time on an egg under a tube. The egg blew up just moments later. The following day, he popped corn kernels with the new invention. And that's how the first prototype of the microwave was born. It's one of the several inventions from the 40s we still use and love today. The official birth of the mobile phone concept is 1947. It wasn't a flip phone that everyone secretly had in their pockets. Back then, AT&T proposed to the Federal Communications Commission to dish out a ton of radio spectrum frequencies to make the dream of widespread mobile telephone service a reality. Bell Laboratories introduced the idea of cellular communications the same year. The FCC didn't support the idea and limited the number of frequencies to 23 phone conversations possible at the same time in the same service area. The first call on a portable cell phone was only made in 1973. It was a prototype weighing 28 ounces. Back in the 1920s, some genius engineers were already cooking up the idea of color television. But only in the early 1940s did CBS and engineer Peter Goldmark create a system that beamed images in all three primary colors. By the 50s, color TV had already settled in the living rooms of families in the West. You wouldn't be able to spray your hair against all elements or paint a mural easily without aerosol spray can technology. It was an invention of the Department of Agriculture researchers. They created the aerosol to spray dangerous bugs. Spray cans, mostly with insecticides, became available to the public shortly after. The invention was later perfected by an American inventor and engineer who created a crimp-on valve. His invention was made of lightweight aluminum. It made the cans cheap and practical to dispense liquids, foams, powders, and creams. In the 1940s, Swiss engineer Georges de Mestral went for a stroll in the woods with his dog. Suddenly, his clothes and his dog's fur turned into a magnet for hundreds of annoying cockleburrs. George got curious and whipped out a microscope to check out these burrs up close to find out their success secret. He knew this tech could be useful. So, the engineer discovered that they had tiny hooks that looked like a monster's spiky fangs. Those hooks could latch onto anything with a loop: clothing fiber, animal fur, or even human hair. De Mestral realized he could mimic this burr magic, and that's how Velcro was born. Many people believe our ancestors were monosyllabic grunters, but according to a new study from the University of Western Australia, this might not be the case. The primary purpose of any language is to convey some meaning, right? So, researchers believe that nonverbal communication most likely came before oral language. To test this, they asked a group of people to play a communication game similar to charades. They put people speaking different languages and from different cultures in one room and told them to communicate through gestures. No grunts allowed. The results were astonishing. Scientists confirmed that many gestures apparently have universal meaning. This way, people understand each other more easily than with any other type of vocalization. If I make the shape of a heart with my hands, you'll get what I mean, right? Speaking of languages, did you know that the last letter added to the English alphabet wasn't Z? It was actually J. It's also no coincidence that I and J are side by side. They started out as the same letter. J was just a prettier way of writing I. With time, J got its own phoneme and became a separate letter all on its own. Bees are fascinating creatures. They're very important for people. For one thing, it's their delicious honey. But they are the best pollinators too. We need them to keep restoring our food supplies. Some people may be afraid of their stingers, but honeybees will only sting you if they feel threatened. The worst part is that bees never survive after stinging you. These insects can't pull their barbed stinger out of your skin. And this stinger is part of the bee's digestive tract, nerves, and muscles. After losing all that, the tiny creature can't really make it out alive. The filling between Kit Kat wafers is made from other Kit Kats. When something goes wrong during the production, for example, a Kit Kat bar has too many bubbles or other imperfections, nothing goes to waste. Such sweets get melted into a paste, and then these substandard Kit Kats are used to fill in other Kit Kat bars. Oreology is a field of science that studies Oreos. Yes, the cookies. The flow and fracture of Oreos are the subject of several scientific experiments. Researchers are doing everything in their power to answer this question. Why does all the cream remain only on one side of the Oreo? Grab an Oreo and break it apart the way you normally do it. See what I mean? Rheologists are physicists who study complex fluids. After analyzing the Oreo filling, they classified it as a flowable soft solid. These are fluids that are soft when you don't disturb them and flow when they're under a large amount of stress. No, that doesn't mean Oreos are literally stressed. This means that the cream on the inside will behave according to the pressure you apply while opening a cookie. The trick that will help you distribute the cream is a simple twist. If you twist an Oreo slowly and steadily, this will reduce the stress and most likely let the cream stay on both sides of the cookie. Try it out for yourself and let me know if it works for you. Meanwhile, Oreologists have developed a special machine to do the testing. Ever heard of an Oreometer? It was designed specifically to twist Oreos at an optimum speed and angle. Way to go, cookie science! It's a beautiful afternoon, and you're looking at the sky. Wait, what are those tiny dots traveling in squiggly lines? They're only visible for a short moment. You might even mistake them for mosquitoes. Those are your white blood cells. They're moving inside your capillaries running through the front part of the retina in your eyes. The funny thing is, most people don't notice the dots until someone asks them to pay attention. The Ring of Fire is not only the name of a popular song, it's also a horseshoe-shaped area in the Pacific Ocean. It's about 25,000 miles long and contains around 450 volcanoes. It's the most seismically active place on Earth. Over 75% of all active and sleeping volcanoes in the world are located in the Ring of Fire. No wonder around 90% of all earthquakes happen in this area. Oh, and by the way, the deepest trench on the planet is also located there. The Mariana Trench is one of the most famous features of the Ring of Fire. Its deepest point, the Challenger Deep, lies 36,070 feet below sea level. Funny fact, before color television appeared in the 1950s, 75% of people claimed they saw black and white dreams. But these days, the same study has found out that only 12% of people still dream in black and white. Scientists think they've found an explanation for this. It turns out that those who grew up watching black and white television more often have monochrome dreams. Why so serious? In the 1800s, having a photograph of yourself was a big luxury. Smiling in pictures was considered childish and even impolite. That and, well, a lack of proper dental hygiene. Photographers told these people posing for their pictures to say prunes instead of cheese. This word kept people's mouths shut. That's why all our ancestors look as if they've eaten something sour before posing for a photo. When going somewhere by city bus, you don't have to wear a seatbelt. You might have thought that this goes against every traffic rule you can imagine, but that's not exactly the case. There are several reasons why buses have no seatbelts. In case of an emergency, passengers need to be able to get off as fast as possible. If they have their seatbelts on, they'll waste precious time unbuckling them. Secondly, a bus is a heavy vehicle. In case of a crash, it stops more slowly than a car. So, even though the passengers will feel the impact, they won't get seriously hurt. That's also the reason why people are allowed to remain standing on a moving bus. Imagine you're on a date and have accidentally, or not, ordered a garlic pizza. You check your pockets and, oh no, you haven't brought your breath mints with you. No worries, this little trick can help you get out of trouble. All you need to do is order a cucumber salad or anything with celery. These fibrous vegetables can wash away odor-causing bacteria and help you get rid of bad breath. Try holding a slice of cucumber between your tongue and the roof of your mouth. It'll be the same or even better than a breath mint. Here's a riddle for you. A pointy mustache, melting clocks, and the Chupa Chups logo. What do these things have in common? It turns out Salvador Dali was the very person who designed the logo of Chupa Chups. The surrealist artist also suggested that the logo should be placed on top of the lollipop so people could see it at all times. Lady Liberty, when it first arrived in New York, wasn't green. It was the same color as a penny, copper that is. It turned green over time due to the process known as oxidation. But it still looks amazing, right? The difference between the American and European chocolate does exist. But why don't they taste the same, you might ask? The answer is simple: different regulations. European chocolate has to contain at least 14% of dry milk solids, while the minimum amount in the US is 12%. This means European chocolate is kinda creamier. It's also more chocolatey since it contains more cocoa. Experts had been experimenting with the potato chip shape until they finally got the ideal formula. That curvy shape we associate with chips has a scientific name. This shape helps prevent big problems. If chips were shaped in a different way, they would immediately break into pieces once put into a bag. But the curvy shape helps them remain in one piece. You might have noticed a similar approach in architecture when domes and arches strengthen the structure of a building.
Some of those potatoes you left in your pantry have turned green. Are they still safe to eat? When these vegetables come in contact with direct sunlight, they turn green because of a little thing called chlorophyll. It's a green pigment plants need to produce food during a process called photosynthesis. To prevent potatoes from turning green, you'll need to store them in a dark and well-ventilated area. While chlorophyll itself is harmless, once the amount of this substance increases in a potato, it triggers the appearance of another element called solanine. This is a substance found in tomatoes, eggplants, and most importantly, potatoes. Not only does it make these vegetables taste bitter, but it can also cause serious health problems, for example, related to digestion. While it's best to refrain from eating green potatoes, you can always double-check if they are good to eat by tasting them. If you sense a taste of bitterness, it's best to throw them away. What about sprouted potatoes? Are they good to eat? Well, it depends. That substance solanine has a lot to do with it again. If a potato otherwise looks good and only has a couple of small sprouts, you can remove those and safely eat the vegetable. They won't be the best looking potatoes though. So if you want to cook a dish where you need neat vegetables, you might want to skip the slightly sprouted potatoes and use them for something else, like soups or mashed potatoes. But if your potato looks like it's grown arms and legs, you'll be on the safe side if you throw it away. Solanine aside, it will also taste bitter, so you might end up cooking it for no good reason at all. Let's look at some other tips to help you improve your kitchen safety skills, like how you should wash fruits and vegetables with hard rinds, say melons or cucumbers. Simply running water over them may not be enough to get rid of all the nasty stuff on their surface. Best to use a sterilized scrub brush and some elbow grease to really get into those ridges and clean the vegetables properly. That way, the dirt and bacteria won't transfer from your veggies to your cutting knife or board. A fan of grilled meat? Might want to get a food thermometer to make sure you're always on the safe side. If you're an experienced cook, you might be able to visibly judge if the meat is ready. But if you're really not sure if the product is done, a thermometer will be your best friend. Specialists claim that whole cuts of meat need to reach a minimum internal temperature of 140 degrees Fahrenheit before you can serve them. Fish needs to reach 145 degrees, while ground meats need a minimum of 160. Poultry or pre-cooked meat, like hot dogs, need to be heated to at least 165 degrees. To safely store all the food you've bought for the rest of the week, you also need to make sure that your household devices are working properly and are set at the right temperatures, like your refrigerator temperature, for example, which should be at 40 degrees or lower. As for the temperature in the freezer, it should be 0 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Now, that thermometer I mentioned earlier can be of use here too if you need to check whether your appliances are working properly. Luckily, most of these devices come equipped with their own thermometers these days. Do you need to bring your own food to your neighbor's barbecue party? Make sure to keep it cool on the way. Meat, poultry, and seafood need to be transported at 40 degrees Fahrenheit at most. You can always use an icebox. Just make sure to place its cooling parts in the freezer the night before. The way you organize food in your fridge can affect its quality too. Raw meat, for example, needs to be stored on the bottom shelf of your fridge. It's also best to keep it away from fresh produce and ready-to-eat dishes. Now, have you experienced a long power outage recently? Sorry, but all the food in your fridge needs to go. If your fridge was offline for only a couple of minutes, you're most likely safe. Otherwise, you'll need to get rid of all the perishable foods. When it comes to canned food, you also need to take into consideration its acidity levels. Products that are high in acidity, like tomatoes, grapefruit, and pineapple, can be stored for 12 to 18 months if unopened. Canned vegetables, meat, poultry, and fish can be stored for longer, anywhere between 2 to 5 years, if the storing conditions are right and if the can itself remains undamaged. If anything looks rusty or has bumps on it, remove it from your pantry. You also need to be careful with storing your acidic food, as you should never use reactive pans. You might know that aluminum is used a lot in cookware because it's good at conducting heat. But cooking or storing something in an aluminum pan might not be so good for your food. Tomato sauce, for example, can damage aluminum or cast iron plates, and that will show in both the taste and the color of your food. Non-reactive pans are your safe bet, so make sure you invest in a good quality stainless steel, enamel-coated, or glass set of pans. A lot of dishes taste better if you pre-marinate the ingredients. Just make sure to always marinate food in the refrigerator. If you leave it outside on your counter, it'll soon reach room temperature, and then bacteria will start to multiply. And it may be dangerous if you don't cook that product at a high enough temperature afterward. Also, never reuse the marinating liquid. Now, the first rule, whenever you're gathering tools to prep for dinner, multiple cutting boards for each type of food. One should be reserved for meat and seafood, while others should be divided between vegetables, fruit, and baked goods. It's the best way to avoid cross-contamination in the kitchen. And speaking of cutting boards, your best bet would be to invest in a good bamboo one. This material absorbs little to no moisture and isn't easily damaged by knives. It's way more resistant to bacteria than any other type of wood, and it also lasts longer, not to mention the fact that it also looks really cool. Eggs can cause a lot of trouble if not stored correctly, but here are a couple of tips you can use. Fresh eggs are safe to eat for up to 3 weeks after purchase. Keep them in their original carton. Hard-boiled eggs need to be consumed within the week, no matter if they still have their shells on or not. Lastly, if you keep leftover egg dishes in your fridge, make sure you eat them within 3 to 4 days. Now, we all want our batter to be smooth and free of lumps, don't you? But over-mixing can be bad for your dish too. Way too much elbow grease can cause gluten to form in the flour, which will give you a really tough batter. The trick is to mix lightly just until the batter is homogeneous. Dried pasta comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes for a reason, you know? That's because you should be pairing a specific type of pasta with the texture of the sauce. Like pasta shells, for example, go better with denser and chunkier sauces. Why? Because the sauce is gathered inside the shell, making it easier to serve and eat. The ribbed outside surface also helps with covering the shells in the sauce. Next time you mess up a tray of cookies and end up burning them, you can save them with your trusty grater. Just grate off the blackened parts from the bottom after carefully removing the cookies from the tray. Also, if you ruin their shape a bit, you can always dip them in melted chocolate. After the chocolate gets a chance to cool down, you'll be left with perfectly shaped pastries. Well, it's a nice Sunday afternoon and you're shopping at your regular grocery store when you stumble upon a bloated package in the fresh produce aisle. You check the product information. It seems well within its expiration date. Then why the unusual shape, you may wonder? The answer is not always straightforward. For some types of fresh products, such as meat, fish, or seafood, sometimes even salads and cheese, scientists came up with something called MAP, or Modified Atmosphere Packaging, to ensure that these types of products with a relatively short shelf life stay fresh for as long as possible. A combination of gases is introduced in the packaging. It happens even before the product reaches your local grocery store. A French professor at the Montpellier School of Pharmacy stumbled upon this method after he noticed that fruits tend to stay fresh for longer periods of time in low-oxygen storage conditions. The types of gases in MAP's packaging can vary from product to product, but the main idea is to replace or reduce the content of oxygen. It's generally replaced with either nitrogen or carbon dioxide. Keep in mind that just because a bloated bag of salad is within its expiration date, it doesn't mean it's always safe to eat. The gases inside the bag may very well be there for their own purpose, but they can also be a sign that the product is spoiled. That's why the best course of action when shopping would be to check if the product is not expired. If it's still within the date, check for any unusual odors or damage to the packaging. If something seems off, it's best not to risk it. You can reach out to any of the store staff if you have any questions or concerns. Most supermarkets these days have a layout which allows for a logical shopping order, like buying non-perishable items first, then adding refrigerated or frozen products. Fruits and vegetables should come last since you won't want them at the bottom of your shopping cart. Nobody likes a squished tomato. While I'm on the subject of fruits and veggies, try to get them earlier in the morning if possible. Veggies that have been sitting out all day may lose some of their shape and texture, while others may be a bit wilted away. Quick tip on waste management: never buy more produce than you intend to use in a week. Most fruits and vegetables don't even last that long, so it's best not to give in to cravings. Shopping on a full stomach might help with that as well, just as much as going shopping with a pre-made list of things you need to buy. Thoroughly inspecting the package of every product might save you some hustle later as well. Refrigerated products need to feel cold to the touch, whilst frozen ones need to be solid and with no sign of leakage. When you get home, make sure you refrigerate all the necessary items as soon as possible. Generally, they shouldn't be out of the refrigerator for more than 2 hours. Otherwise, their quality won't stay the same. Buying potted herbs from the grocery store may not be the first thing on your list, but it's surely something to consider. Not only are they available for a fraction of the cost, but they're also easy to grow and take care of. Just picture a nice herb garden right there on your balcony or even in the kitchen. Wouldn't that be nice? You'll always have fresh basil to top a mouth-watering pasta dish. Since you're still at the grocery store, pick up some coffee filters while you're at it. You may not have a machine at home that actually uses filters, but there are a lot more things you can use them for around the house. They can be used for straining liquids, safely stacking delicate china in your cupboards, or even polishing windows, or shoes for that matter. If your favorite fruits and vegetables are on sale, but buying large quantities would mean they go to waste, consider freezing them. You can stock up on items for smoothies, especially for the colder season when there are limited options for fresh fruits. And don't just grab the first thing on the shelf, especially if it's likely to go bad quickly. Stores restock their produce following a first-in, first-out layout, so the items at the back of the shelf will always be a tad bit fresher. The same goes for tea if you prefer it to coffee. Switch to buying loose-leaf tea, and you'll not only reduce the costs, you'll also be able to make your own homemade tea blends. Loose-leaf tea also has a stronger flavor than tea sold in tea bags. As for the other household stuff, stock up on items such as light bulbs, paper towels, or batteries. Chances are you'll always be needing at least one of these items, so it's best to buy them in larger quantities when on sale. They never go to waste, and let's face it, it's always annoying when you run out of batteries at home and your TV remote stops working. Hey, tell me about it. Try to reduce the number of times you go to the grocery store to buy just one item. It's inefficient, and most likely, you'll end up buying things that you don't actually need. That shopping list starts to make a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Another list worth making, the one containing whatever you have in the fridge. Try to create such a list at least twice a week. Meal planning for at least a week in advance will also help you reduce impulse buying. If you already know what you'll want for dinner on Wednesday, why add anything else to the cart if it's unnecessary? At the same time, start getting creative with your leftovers. There's no need for them to go to waste when you can mix and match or add some additional herbs and flavors to spice them up. Store leftovers in transparent containers for added visibility, and don't be afraid to set out a leftover day during the week. It's also nice to look at them as ingredients rather than leftovers. Use extra leftover pasta or steamed vegetables for a frittata or an omelet. Blend together cooked vegetables with some tomatoes to create a pasta sauce. Put together some wraps for the next day's lunch with anything from leftover cooked rice to meat and vegetables. Or, if you're really looking for the easiest method to save leftovers, you can always turn them into soup. Last night's vegetable side dish can turn into a wholesome lunch if you simply add a can of broth and blend it all together. Even a 2-day-old loaf of bread can be salvaged if you cut it diagonally, sprinkle the slices with some herbs and olive oil, and pop them in the oven for a couple of minutes. You'll then have yourself some nice homemade croutons for that previously mentioned soup. A little label know-how never hurt anyone either. Be on the lookout for ingredients you've never heard of or those you can't pronounce. An item that usually has more than 5 ingredients listed on the packaging should be avoided. Even the way you carry your groceries in the supermarket can affect how and what you buy. If you prefer baskets to shopping carts, you're more prone to impulse searches. That's what a study published by the Journal of Marketing Research claims. It happens due to the effort you put in actually carrying the items around. Choosing a shopping cart will most likely make you comfortable enough to browse through enough products and read labels thoroughly. When your grocery list is not too big, go for the self-checkout aisle if available. Studies have shown that impulse purchases are lowered by up to 32% if you actually scan your own items on the way out. That's because the regular checkout line is specially designed to keep you from letting go of any items you might have reconsidered buying. There's literally nowhere you can put down your undesired products outside of your grocery cart, and if there's anyone else waiting in line behind you, good luck sliding out. The food arrangement on the shelves can also pose a threat to both your budget and your habits. Since people are more inclined to buy the items they see first, the most expensive products are placed at eye level. and the budget options are placed on the top and bottom shelf. Take your time and scan your aisles of interest. You'll be surprised to see that most items placed on higher or lower shelves are often not only more cost-effective, but also less packed with additives or artificial flavoring. Hey, be careful. It's a jungle in there.
A beverage as black as ink, useful against numerous health conditions. It's made of water and the fruit from a bush called bunu.
You must have guessed. It's a description of coffee. This is how coffee was described by a German physician who had a 10-year trip to the Near East back in the 16th century. Today, you don't have to venture into the unknown to get a cup of precious liquid. You can easily make it at home or visit the closest coffee shop. As of 2023, in the US alone, there are over 72,000 coffee shops. Imagine the whole world. When you think of coffee, what's the first country that comes to your mind? Italy? Maybe France? But here's the kicker. Actually, Finland is the coffeeest country in the world. Just picture it. An adult Finn consumes up to 27.5 pounds of coffee per year, while an American only consumes about 11 pounds. Norway proudly takes second place, and Denmark closes the top 3. Italy and France aren't even in the top 10. And by the way, each day, people on our planet drink approximately 1.6 billion cups of coffee. If you're planning to hit some longevity records, coffee may come in handy. There's been research conducted by Harvard Health Publishing stating that those who drink 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day are more likely to have a longer lifespan. Sounds cool, but it's probably not the best option. One of the world's most famous supercentenarians, Jeanne Calment, acknowledged that she would drink coffee with milk for breakfast. And she lived an incredibly long life of 122 years. Not only do people prove that coffee helps with longevity, but cats can also prove it. This is Cream Puff from Texas. It's the cat that lived for 38 years. Jake Perry, Cream Puff's owner, shared some details about his pet's diet. Cream Puff would typically eat dry cat food, eggs, turkey bacon. Alright, nothing special here. But the cat was a big fan of coffee too. Cream Puff preferred coffee with cream. Now, here's a question for you. What color is your coffee mug? Thing is, it matters a lot what you drink from. There are certain colors, for example, lead-based glaze that can release toxic substances in your drink. Mugs glazed with red and orange are most likely to contain lead. So, if you want to play it safe, opt for mugs made of glass, ceramic, or stainless steel. Also, mugs made of plastic or aluminum aren't safe either, as they may release unwanted substances, just like glazed mugs. But the color matters for psychological reasons too. There's been an experiment concerning coffee perception based on the mug color. So, it turns out that if we drink coffee from a white mug, it may seem less sweet than if we drink it from a blue or transparent one. Coffee even played an important role in major sports events. Back in 1932, Brazilian athletes couldn't afford a trip to LA to participate in the Olympic Games. However, a solution was found. The authorities loaded the athletes onto a ship full of coffee. That coffee was sold on the way, so it helped finance their trip. Coffee is also the key to a happy family life, or at least it used to be. In the 15th century, in Mesopotamia, coffee was pretty important when it came to marriage. Men would choose their future wives based on how well they could make coffee. Luckily, we have coffee machines for that today, so we choose partners based on their personalities. And in Constantinople, a wife could file for divorce in case her hubby did not provide her with enough coffee. According to industry standards, you need around 56 coffee beans to make a single shot of coffee. Beethoven, yes, I'm talking about one of the main hitmakers of all time, would count 60 beans precisely to brew his morning coffee. I guess it was more of a ritual than a particular recipe. Hey, do you have any rituals for your morning, Joe? Another hitmaker, Johann Sebastian Bach, even dedicated a cantata to coffee, which he called Coffee Cantata. Pretty straightforward, huh? The cantata tells about coffee dependence. Even though black coffee is supposedly the most common type out there, pretty much everyone tried cappuccino at least once. By the way, it got its name because of the final color the drink has. It's a soft brownish shade, very much similar to the color of the capuchin robe. Plus, the robe has a hood, and the word hood translates to Italian as cappuccio. Now the name finally makes sense. Those who don't like to spend time brewing coffee often opt for the instant variety. Let's say happy birthday to instant coffee. It's soon to turn 116 years old. It was invented in 1907, and up until the 1970s, many consumers would criticize it for having an inferior taste. However, in the 1970s, the technology changed, and the manufacturers claimed it tasted almost like freshly brewed coffee. Also, instant coffee created another popular thing: coffee vending machines. The first prototype was invented back in 1947, and they've been with us ever since the 1950s. There are also some products you don't really want to combine coffee with. Number 1. Meat. The logic is simple. Coffee can absorb zinc in the body. Therefore, it's not the best choice to have coffee after grabbing something that contains zinc. I'm talking about red meat, oysters, and beans. Number 2. Fried food. Such dishes tend to contain a lot of so-called bad fats. And once you combine them with caffeine, this mix increases the cholesterol levels in your body. Number 3 may come as a surprise, but still, coffee and milk aren't the best match. Coffee doesn't let the calcium absorb, so technically, you just don't get many nutrients from the milk. Japan seems like the perfect place for those who love coffee. I mean, do you know any other place where you can literally bathe in coffee? Me neither. So this hot springs spa and water amusement park near Tokyo got famous for its extraordinary hot tubs. There are 26 baths in total, and they're filled with coffee, green tea, and many other drinks. Only fresh ingredients are used, and the baths get refilled every day. So to make a coffee tub, they brew coffee beans with water from natural hot springs. By the way, the price is pretty reasonable. An adult ticket costs about $36. If you tried to make a coffee tub yourself, you'd probably spend more. Time to debunk another myth. Decaf coffee does have caffeine. A middle-sized decaf drink has about 7 milligrams of caffeine, while regular coffee has about 7. Yep, 10 times less, but it's enough to disrupt your sleep. As for classic coffee, remember that caffeine has a 6-hour half-life, so it takes about 12 hours to fully eliminate it from your body. Coffee is a no-go both before you go to sleep and right after you wake up. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is not only responsible for stress, but for sleep cycles too. It spikes between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., so a cup of coffee only adds to anxiety in the morning. Grab it when the cortisol is at its lowest. It also spikes between noon and 1 p.m., and between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. No coffee at this time. Many people believe coffee is not the healthiest drink, opting for good quality water or other beverages. Still, if you just can't say no to your guilty pleasure, try buying a thermo cup and brewing coffee at home. You'll save money and nature, since the disposable coffee cups aren't recyclable, and it takes at least 20 years for them to decompose. A pop-in in a coffee shop may be your daily ritual, but have you ever counted how much you spend on your morning habit? Millennials spend over $2,000 a year on coffee, investing sometimes more than they do in their retirement.
Hey, you ready for a shock? The fruit you call a banana has nothing to do with the real deal. Most wild bananas have large seeds and very little pulp. A lot of them aren't even edible. But when you eat a banana, you can barely spot those seeds. It's because most of us these days are chomping down on clones of the Cavendish variety. Yes, there are different species of bananas, as in more than 1,000. That special type was chosen because it's seedless. Plus, it lasts longer. No store wants to waste money on trying to sell food with a short shelf life. Oh yeah, and bananas are technically berries. Same goes for watermelons. It's because their seeds are inside the flesh, which makes strawberries and raspberries not true berries. By definition, they're fruits since the seeds are on the outside. But an orange has its seeds on the inside like a berry too. That's right, it's another case of mistaken identity. Oranges are also a human invention, not a product of nature. They were created as a hybrid from the pomelo and mandarin. And if you see a green orange, it doesn't mean it's sour and unripe. It's just got its sunscreen on. When the weather's too hot for their liking, oranges produce more of the green pigment chlorophyll to protect themselves from sunburn. But if you have a green banana you want to turn yellow faster, just throw it into a plastic bag with an apple or tomato. These two give off ethylene gas, which helps other fruits ripen. Fun fact: unripe fruit tastes so yucky for a reason. It's because the seeds aren't done growing yet. In the wild, any fruit's goal is to be gobbled up by animals because they help spread the seeds. When the seeds are finally ready, the fruit ripens, gets a new yummy taste, and the animals start munching. Limes, lemons, and oranges are obviously relatives. Bananas have their family too, lilies and orchids. If you ever look at banana leaves and compare them with those flowers, you'll see they're cousins. By the way, peaches and nectarines are basically the same fruit. It all comes down to one little gene that decides whether the peel will be smooth or fuzzy. Apples are also roses, just like pears, cherries, and almonds. Next time you show up on a date, bring a bag of apples and share this fact. Ooh, how romantic! Oddly enough, if you make a salad from red, orange, and yellow bell peppers, you'll get a dish made of 3 entirely different vegetables. They're all unique plants with their own unique seeds. You see a banana, you think of a warm, tropical climate. But they can easily grow in Iceland. It's the world's most northern producer of the fruit, berry. Funny thing about Iceland, they grow a lot of tropical fruits up there. The cold country pulls it off thanks to the geothermal underground heat. That's the same thing powering their epic volcanoes and geysers. Sorry, but calorie-negative veggies are a myth. Some people claim that your body uses more energies to break down, say, lettuce and celery than those foods give. They're still extremely low-cal, about 5 to 10 calories a serving, but your body only burns half a calorie to digest them. Kiwi fruits in the wild look like big, hairy grapes, but many people instead thought it resembles that tiny little kiwi bird, so they named this fruit after it and not vice versa. Technically renamed, kiwi was originally called Chinese gooseberry. Up for some sushi? If you grabbed wasabi at the grocery store, there's a 99% chance you didn't get the real thing. True wasabi is hard to make, so it's usually replaced with horseradish, some extra flavorings, and colorants, like green. The ketchup we eat today has nothing to do with the original recipe. The origins go back to the 17th century, when the Chinese made a sauce out of pickled fish and spices. Later, the British version featured mushrooms, shallots, and even walnuts. The word ketchup changed its name and was used for any dark-colored sauce. The first carrots were completely different too. The carrot we're used to is thick and orange. They used to be thin and purple. Carrots are tougher than any other vegetable. It's because they can survive a winter in the ground and not wither. Also, if you thought baby carrots are a totally different sort, not true. They are often just unattractive, regular-sized carrots trimmed down to bite-sized. They'd be too hard to sell the way they are, but they look appetizing cut up. Watermelons and tomatoes are mostly water, and you can tell while eating them. But potatoes are too, about 80%. So, if you wanted to, you could squeeze a potato and have a glass of its juice. I think I'd rather fry them. Carrots are over 80% water, and apples are about 25% air. That's why they float and you can bob for them. So, when you spend $10 on apples, $2.50 of that is going toward nothing. And here you were always worried about paying for air in chip bags. Apples taste better when they're sliced because they're exposed to oxygen. It activates a special enzyme that makes the fruit ripen and turn brown. The same happens when you hit an apple. The oxygen gets inside through tiny cracks, and it'll be sweeter. Get this. A scientist in Germany figured out how to turn peanut butter into diamonds. Peanut butter has a lot of carbon in it. To turn it into a diamond, all you do is put it under extreme high pressure. Yeah, good luck with that. If you ever order a Welsh rabbit in the UK, don't expect a meat dish. It's actually some crispy bread with a cheesy sauce poured on it. Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, Worcestershire sauce was invented by accident. 2 English chemists tried to make an Indian fish sauce. The batch turned out too strong to be edible, so they put it in the basement. They forgot about it for a couple of years, and it fermented in that time. When they remembered about it, they thought, hey, why not give it a try? And it tastes much better. And yes, your favorite steak sauce is still made with fish today. Those instant noodles you buy when the budget's tight were originally a luxury product. The main idea was to create something with a long shelf life. After several unsuccessful attempts, the inventor finally got it. The noodles had to be steamed, dried, deep-fried, and then seasoned. This complicated production made them cost much more than the fresh noodles everyone was used to. Now, let's travel back in time to the 1700s. As the story goes, a man named John Montague really liked card games, as in, he couldn't even be bothered to take a break for lunch. So he just asked for some meat tucked between 2 slices of bread. That way, he could eat it while playing and keep the cards clean and grease-free. Montague was the 4th Earl of Sandwich, the town in England, and he's credited for inventing the hush puppy. Nah, you're right, the sandwich. Another famous food legend, they say potato chips also came about by chance. In 1853, a customer was dining at a restaurant where French fries were one of the specials. This guest wasn't satisfied with those fries and complained they were too thick. When the chef cooked thinner fries, the picky customer complained yet again. The chef got so annoyed that he just cut a potato into paper-thin slices and deep-fried them. Much to his surprise, the finicky eater loved the final dish. And cheese puffs started out as trash. Back in the 1930s, Edward Wilson noticed some oozing corn in one of the machines at a factory that made food for animals. Wilson was puzzled by the ribbons, so he took them home and tried to season them. He also noticed the puffy corn hardened when exposed to air. The experiment was a success, and it developed into a world-famous snack. There are different stories behind how chocolate chip cookies were invented. One claims that a lady ran out of baker's chocolate and decided to replace it with some basic broken-up semi-sweet chocolate. She thought they'd just melt evenly into the batter. But those chips stayed right where they were, and what a yummy mistake. Hey, I've never met a cookie I didn't like.
Picture this. It's a cloudy, misty morning in the middle of winter. Tom wakes up, a bit nervous for the day ahead. He's leaving on a long journey through uncharted waters. His captain says they will try to leave England and make it all the way to the Americas. He's ready and packed to leave his house when his wife reminds him to take the biscuits he had spent the night preparing. Let's zoom in on these biscuits right here. They look a bit strange, don't they? These are called ship's biscuits, and they were literally the biscuits that sailors ate during long voyages at sea. A ship's biscuit could go years without going bad. I know that sounds impossible, but the secret is in the ingredients and baking methods. When sailors departed, they didn't know how long they would go without setting foot on land again, so they needed to be ready, food-wise. Otherwise, they could perish from extreme hunger. So bakers came up with this simple biscuit. It's mostly made out of 3 ingredients: salt, flour, and a bit of water. The idea is that the dough stayed as stiff as it could. Then, bakers would put them in the oven for hours, at very low temperatures. The purpose of this slow baking was to take off all the moisture in the biscuits. Even if you're not an experienced sailor, you might suspect that moisture is the enemy of food preservation. It makes stuff get moldy and attracts insects and other animals. Plus, a ship is already an extremely moist environment. So the biscuits had to go on the countercurrent of all of that. A ship's biscuit can go 6, 7, 8 years without going bad. The little holes you see on them help to get the moisture out during the cooking process. A sailor like Tom, medium-sized, would get a portion of 6 to 8 ship's biscuits per day. They were extremely nutritious and satiated a person's hunger. Now, this was a type of survival food. It wasn't meant to be super pleasurable, yummy, or even give you all the nutrients you needed. Just the basics. Now, do you have any idea what life was like in the 18th century? If you think about a city like New York, there were only about 18,000 people living there. For comparison, today the city hosts more than 8 million people. Back then, if someone had to travel from New York to Boston, there wouldn't be any of the convenience stores there were along the way. I mean, there weren't even roads as we know them now. So, people needed to make food provisions. And this is where portable soup came in handy. If you imagined a boiling pot of meat and veggies, I'm sorry to inform you, you are wrong. Portable soup is hard and condensed. It looks like this. Portable soup is a type of solidified broth, a very, very condensed substance made essentially of meat. Think about it. It's convenient, it's light, it doesn't take up much space, but it's extremely hard to make. The best meat to make portable soup is one with a lot of collagen, like beef shank, and the secret is slow cooking. You can't lose sight of it though, because if it boils up, you ruin the whole thing. While cooking the meat, it will release its taste in the water in the pot, and after a few hours, it's safe to take the beef out. The remaining water will be rich in nutrients and fats, and once you reduce that down for about 18 to 24 hours, you'll get a gelatine-like nutritional substance. Once this cools down, it turns into a tablet of sorts. It's pretty amazing to witness the entire transformation process, but hey, this dark tablet is really satiable. And to eat it, you just needed to find some hot water and put the meat tablet inside of it. It would release all the condensed nutrients in it, giving you a warm, hearty meal. Here's a trick question for you. Do you know why hamburgers are called hamburgers if they are not made out of ham? Apparently, it has to do with the city they were first invented in, the city of Hamburg in Germany. But it wasn't what we are used to today. I mean, they didn't even use ketchup. Well, at least not the tomato ketchup we use now. But did you know that other types of ketchup have existed throughout history? As weird as it may sound, back in the 18th century, people ate mushroom ketchup. For your information, if you look up ketchup in some dictionaries, it is by definition a sauce made out of mushrooms. It has nothing to do with tomatoes. I wonder where people got that idea from. Anyways, to make it you can use any type of mushrooms. Even shiitake if you're feeling fancy. The idea is to smash them, cook them, and add a bunch of spices to the mix. I'm talking clove, nutmeg, ginger, pepper, and whatever else your palate wishes for. And in case you're wondering what our ancestors ate it with, I have one word for you: meat. They would pour mushroom ketchup over a nice piece of steak, for example, like a gravy sauce or something like it. Now, if this just left your mouth full of water, I have good news. You can still find mushroom ketchup in Great Britain. It's just North America that kind of forgot it. Neat, huh? And what did people eat back in the day when they were feeling unwell? Today, we have a concept of food I particularly love: comfort food, which is something to eat when you are feeling down and sad. But then, on the days you're feeling sick, what do you eat? I immediately think of a warm soup or something nutritious and light. Our forefathers drank something called posset. Now, posset could be described as an eggnog with some sweets added into it. Its recipe can be traced down to as early as the 15th century. The drink was considered such a reliable remedy that Shakespeare even used it as a poison in Macbeth. Here's another quick pop quiz for you. Why do we say the proof is in the pudding? This famous expression simply means that you'll only know the true value of something once you experience it for yourself. The expression started to be used back in the 1600s, but there's an important thing to note here. In Britain, pudding is not the sweet dessert known by many in America. Rather, it's a savory dish, much like a pie. I guess it's safe to say that the British are good at turning almost anything into pie. From apple pie to pumpkin pie, chicken pot pie, and so on. Now, in the 18th century, they had something called beefsteak pie. This was an incredibly popular dish back then, but somewhere along the way we lost the habit of making it. Sure, you can find steak and kidney pudding today, but it's got all sorts of stuff in it, such as potatoes, carrots, and thick gravy. Up until the 19th century, people ate the stripped-down version of this dish, which was basically made out of richly flavored meat. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you're in the US, you might eat some avocado on toast or a rich bowl of cereal. If you're in Vietnam, you might enjoy a warm bowl of broth soup or rice. But if you were eating breakfast in 18th century England, or even the United States, you would get something like this. This is the old school version of what we know as bacon and eggs. Except that back then, it was called collops and eggs. According to the traditional Hannah Glass recipe, straight from the most famous cookbooks of back then, the egg wasn't fried or boiled, it was poached, and the bacon was probably not as processed as we eat them today. A little toast was added on the side, and there you had it. The perfect start for a long day.
Sandwich bread is not entirely real bread. Water can boil and freeze at the same time. Bananas are berries that grow in grass. Believe these or not, but let me ask you, did you know water can be wetter than it is in nature? Find out in this video. Bubblegum is usually pink because the first commercial gum, made in 1928, was like that. Pink simply was the only color of the food dye available at the factory. The first chewing gum ever, though, probably appeared about 9,000 years back. People chewed birch bark tar back then for its medicinal properties, for example, to fight fever. In fact, at different periods, people used to chew on lots of stuff. For instance, the ancient Mayans made gum out of chicle, a substance made from the sapodilla tree sap. They used it to fight hunger and quench thirst. And in North America, people chewed spruce tree resin, a habit which European settlers later picked up and turned into a commercial thing in the 1840s. You can't name a folder CON on any version of Windows. This also applies to some other letter combinations, such as PRN, AUX, NUL, and others. It has to do with the operating system itself. It creates folders to store data in them. And if you create one of your own using one of these names, it will confuse the system. If you shuffle a deck of cards to get every possible combination, you'll spend billions upon billions upon billions of years just to get a third of the way there. Think about it. There are 52 cards in a regular deck. And the possible number of combinations without repeating is 8 times 10 raised to the power of 67. Even if you shuffle the cards 100 times per second without repeating combinations, it will take you several hundreds of trillions of the times the universe has existed so far. Folding a simple sheet of paper 103 times will get you a stack 93 billion light years thick, which is more than the size of the observable universe. But if you decide to check this on your own, you won't be able to fold it more than 12 times. And that would require a really big sheet of paper too, as in almost a mile long. With a regular printing paper sheet, it would be even less, 7 times. In many supermarkets, you'll see 2 different bread sections, bread and bakery, and they do have different types of bread in them. The lighter, square, and most often cut in advance variety is called white pan bread, or sandwich bread, while the other is, well, just bread. The difference is that sandwich bread is made specifically to have stuff spread on it. It has a tougher texture, which allows the slice to not fall apart and go all crumbly when you put, say, peanut butter on it. It's also soft enough, letting you bite into your sandwich and not squeeze the contents out of the sides, turning your meal into a mighty mess. Finally, white pan bread lasts longer than regular bread because of the additives in it. They preserve the bread's texture for a week or so in your home, allowing you to enjoy your PB&Js for longer, while the traditional bread variety would likely go stale the next day. There's a state at which water can both be boiling and freezing. It's called a triple point, and it occurs when all 3 states of a substance, liquid, solid, and vapor, exist at all the same time without messing with each other. For water, the triple point happens just a tiny bit over the freezing temperature and at an atmospheric pressure of 0.006 atmospheres. The blue bird you see on the Twitter logo has an official name. It's Larry the Bird. And the creator of the social network named it after the former NBA basketball player Larry Bird from the Boston Celtics. If you've decided to save a few bucks by charging your smartphone less often, let me disappoint you. To charge a cell phone, you use teeny amounts of electricity. That's why the maximum amount of money you can save within a year is less than $1. Jeep is actually an abbreviation. Originally, it was called a GP, or a general purpose vehicle. It was only much later that it became a brand we know today. Bananas have a curved shape because they turn towards the sun. They're also not trees, but grass, by the way. The bunches grow downwards. But the fruit itself wants to get towards the sun, so it curves a bit up while it grows. Spandex, a fiber used for making sports clothing, got its name as an anagram of the word expands. If you were to watch every video on YouTube, you'd have to spend 1,000 years on that, and then about 1,000 times more because of all the new videos that would appear by then. You probably know that tomatoes are technically berries. Well, bananas, peppers, watermelons, and eggplants are too. There's a little open jar symbol on every cosmetics item packaging. It's called PAO, period after opening, and it tells you how long you can safely use the product after opening it. The jar is usually accompanied by a number with the letter M, which stands for months. Just make sure you remember exactly when you open the package so that you'll know when 3, 6, 9, or however many months indicated have passed. A phone jack often has several rings on it, each representing different components. One ring is for mono sound, 2 are for stereo, and the third one means your earphones have a microphone function built in. To know if an egg you boiled is fully cooked, just spin it on the countertop. If the egg spins steadily without immediately falling over, it's done. Instead of using good old water, firefighters extinguish fires with wet water. They add special wetting agents to it, chemicals that reduce the surface tension that regular water has. It helps the substance to soak into objects and spread everywhere much more easily. Your shower curtain sometimes gets a bit too clingy when you get into the shower trying to get clean. According to the shower curtain effect, the hot water lowers the air pressure behind the curtain. The higher, denser pressure outside the shower pushes the curtain in, making you feel like your shower curtain is out to get you. If you take a closer look at the regular garbage bag, you'll probably notice that the seam is inside out. In fact, you're not supposed to shake up the bag to open it. You gotta place the bag over a garbage can like a hat, and then just push the middle of the bag down into the can. This way, the seam will end up where it should be, inside. If you ever had problems with popping chocolates from the box, look at those little holes around them. They're there to help you. If you push a hole right next to the candy, it'll jump out easily. An extra hole at the upper part of the sink has multiple hidden functions. First, in case someone forgets to close the faucet, the water won't overflow and the bathroom won't get flooded. Second, thanks to that hole, the water drains faster, as it gives an escape for the air, helping the water flow down. Many cups and mugs have little grooves on the bottom on purpose. They're designed for washing machines. The grooves let the water flow and not spill all over your feet when you take the cup out. Also, those grooves let the air flow so the cup doesn't crack even if the tea is scalding. Take a closer look at that metal plate at the front of your stapler, known as the anvil. Turn the stapler upside down and rotate the anvil, reversing it. You're basically changing the stapler setting to temporary. In this mode, you can staple the sheets without too much vigor, so they can be easily detached from each other later.
Most hammers have a slot on top of them. This slot fits a nail in just perfectly. Thanks to it, it's much easier to hammer the nail into the wall and avoid hitting your fingers. The extra pocket on the right side of a suit jacket is called the ticket pocket. In the past, they were used to store coins for people on horseback to pay toll booths without having to open their jackets. Then, when train travel became popular, they started to be used to hold tickets and passes. The small bumps on the F and J keys on your keyboard help people find the right keys without looking down. Keyboards come with little legs. Thanks to these legs, you can tilt your keyboard and see which keys you're hitting. But keep in mind that a flat keyboard doesn't make your wrists so tired. And if you can touch type, you don't need to look at the keyboard anyway. Chip bags have excess air inside to cushion the chips during shipping. This air isn't actually oxygen. It would turn the chips rancid fast. Producers use nitrogen instead because it keeps chips fresh. Colored dots on chip bags have a purpose too. Manufacturers need them to control the package color and show what ink color was used on the package. Now, I'm guessing here that they don't actually want to look at the bag. The markings on the bottom of a toothpaste tube are there for the factory robots. Hey, they want clean teeth too. Actually, colorful squares mark the line that helps the machines understand where to cut and fold the tube. Small hollows in a chocolate box are designed for chocolate lovers. Press the closest deepening to the chocolate that you want to grab, and it'll jump out of the box right into your hand. Magic! The hole in the lollipop stick is there to save your life. If the stick gets stuck in someone's mouth, the hole will prevent this person from choking. All Tic Tac containers are designed to dispense just 1 mint every time you open them. There's an indentation in the lid that has the same shape as the candy. Turn the container upside down and gently shake it. When you open it, you'll notice 1 Tic Tac stuck between the lid grooves. Now that's some engineering. Stickers on fruit seem to provide zero information about the product. But if you look closer, you'll find some numbers that can tell you more. A 5-digit number where the first number is 9 is a good sign. You're about to buy an organic product. A 4-digit number starting with a 3 or 4 means it was conventionally farmed. And if the number starts with an 8 and there are 5 digits, it's best to leave it on the shelf. A dollar has its secrets too. A large letter with a rim shows which bank is responsible for issuing this bill. There are 12 Federal Reserve banks in the U.S. distributing currency. For example, the L says it was printed in San Francisco. The digits on an egg are part of a special labeling system. It's used in many countries. The first number indicates the method of production. The following 2-letter code stands for the country where the egg was produced. And then you can find the registration number. It indicates the laying hen establishment. The first number in this code can vary from 0 to 3. 0 means it's an organic egg. 1, it's a free-range egg, which means it was produced by a hen that was allowed to wander outdoors. Hey, come back! 2 stands for an egg produced in a deep litter indoor housing. 3, you're about to buy a cage farming egg. Barcodes speed up the purchasing process. If a barcode consists of 12 digits, the one on the very left is a system identifier. For example, 2 means it's a randomly weighed item. 3 is used for products related to health. The next 5 digits identify the manufacturer, and the following 5 are the product's number. The last one is the check digit. Scanners need it to make sure they've read the code correctly. Colorful plastic tags on bread bags indicate when the product was made. If it's Monday, there will be a blue tag. For Tuesday, it'll be green. Thursday is red, Friday is white, and on Saturday, look for fresh bread with a yellow tag. Hey, there's going to be a quiz at the end of this. If you examine a Heinz packet carefully, you'll notice a number on it. It indicates which filling line the packet was filled on. That's why the product is the same, but the numbers are different. Coffee stirring sticks have holes in them because those help reduce the resistance from your drink. This way, they can stir sugar much more effectively. Such a design also makes these plastic sticks tougher and prevents them from bending in hot water. And since stirring sticks are partially hollow, less plastic is used during their production. Now, why are chopsticks connected? If they're disposable, they should be connected with a wooden clamp. It's to prove that no one used these chopsticks before you. I sure hope not. Bottles have long necks so that your drink stays cool longer. Hold the neck, not the bottle itself, and your drink won't warm up. Soda bottles are always filled in such a way that there's some space between the liquid level and the cap. That's because these drinks contain carbon dioxide. This gas can expand if the bottle gets heated. If there's no air gap in the bottle, it'll break because of the pressure building inside. Also, when you open your drink, the gases go out in the form of bubbles, and the drink is likely to overflow. The gap helps with this problem too. Except if you shake it up first, then open it. Nah, I've never done that. There are strings on a pack of cotton pads so that you can hang it on something. At the bottom of the pack, there's also a perforated line. If you tear along it, it'll be much easier to pull out cotton pads. The hole near the rim of your bathroom sink is there to prevent overflows. Excess water will go into the siphon and your floor will stay dry in case you forgot to shut the water off. Nope, never done that either. That black grate on a microwave isn't just some fancy decoration. It's called a Faraday shield, and it prevents the rays from escaping the microwave. It also speeds up the heating, so you can enjoy yesterday's leftovers faster. Windshield black dots help dispense the sun glaring right into your eyes. This sort of frame keeps the UV rays away, so it serves as sunglasses for your car. Now, don't blame the little lump on your computer cable for getting stuck somewhere for the umpteenth time. This cylinder, shapes and colors may vary, actually helps prevent interference from other signals, like those your phone emits. The stripes on headphone jacks keep the wires insulated from one another. One stripe means the headset had a mono signal. 2 stripes indicate you'll have stereo sound. And 3 strikes means you're out. Wait, that's baseball. 3 stripes means the headset also has a built-in microphone. Blank pages in the books aren't actually made for the author's signature. It's all about the manufacturing process. Books are printed on large sheets, so one sheet can accommodate 4 printed pages. If a book has an odd quantity of printed pages, chances are you'll get a blank one for notes. When the blue bristles on your toothbrush fade, it's time to change it. Oops, I better check mine. You can usually find some silica gel in bags, shoes, and many other things you buy. This gel absorbs excess moisture. Don't throw it away. Every time your shoes get wet, put some packets of silica gel inside them. A button on the back of a collar of a button-down shirt is there to prevent your tie from sticking out. And the small loop on the back of a shirt can be used to hang the thing without wrinkling it. Little buttons on your jeans are called rivets. They were originally placed there to prevent the seams from ripping. In the past, mostly miners and other workers wore jeans. That's why this item of clothing had to be particularly durable. And even though these days jeans aren't under such stress, the tradition of using rivets still remains. In the past, you could only see diamond slits on alpine packs. Their main purpose was to carry ropes. But these days, you can see such slits on almost any backpack. A small piece of fabric that comes with new clothes can help you test the material. Only after that, wash the garment. If you see the fabric fade, stretch, or pill in the wash, at least you won't ruin the entire item. And if you're still here waiting for the bread tag quiz, well, I made that up. You're off the hook. But hey, my friend, I love your commitment. We can always use more of that. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.